What is up, Buffalo Fanatics? Z-Bot here with you, with Rico coming around the corner. Phone is on the charger, apparently. Taking his sweet time, but he'll be joining us live tonight on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel for another edition of Rico and Bot on a Saturday evening. So good to see you. Saturday, May 10th. Starting to feel a little bit like summer, at least down here where I'm at. Pool is open. It's been raining all week, but the weather is clearing up this weekend. Starting to feel it. And you're starting to feel football coming around the corner as well. As the Bills rookie minicamp opens up, we'll be talking about that this evening. Schedule. Just a few short days away. We'll be talking about the 2025 schedule release coming your way on Wednesday. We'll be giving some predictions as to where we think the Bills might wind up on that schedule list in terms of primetime games, how many we'll see. We'll talk about that this evening. Speaking of which, Wednesday evening live at 7:30 p.m. As always, the schedule release live party right here on the Buffalo Fanatics YouTube channel. Make sure to mark that down. Don't want to miss it. It's always a fun time breaking down the schedule in real time. That's coming your way Wednesday night. Variety of things we're going to be talking about tonight, but we'll start with breaking news out of the NFL this morning, afternoonish. A retirement at the quarterback position. There's going to be a changing of the guard at that position in New Orleans. And a rookie who was drafted at pick number 40, the third overall quarterback off the board, is going to be making his debut earlier than anybody probably anticipated. And that, of course, is Tyler Shough. And the reason he will be taking over as starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints is because Derek Carr has decided to hang up the cleats. This morning, Derek Carr announces his retirement after 11 seasons in the NFL. He spent 8 with the Raiders, the majority of them when they were the Oakland Raiders, the last 3 when they were the Las Vegas Raiders. Spent 3 years in New Orleans, and now he is calling it. After a surgery he had gotten this offseason, it was an interesting situation because it felt like after the Saints had drafted Tyler Shough out of Louisville at 40th overall, he was going to be the succession plan. Derek Carr was being paid more than I think the Saints were comfortable paying him, especially off of an injury. But I was not anticipating Derek Carr to not be the starting quarterback for the Saints going into 2025. But now they have no choice but to put that rookie out there to kick the season off. Derek Carr hanging it up. And there really didn't seem to be many rumors circulating this. Usually I feel like when something around the corner that's as big as a starting quarterback in the NFL retiring, you at least have some idea of when it's coming, of course, outside of the Andrew Luck retirement, which took the world by storm. Never forget where I was for that one. But obviously this isn't in the same realm. Andrew Luck hung it up, I believe, in his 7th season. He was at the peak of his career. The Colts were one of the better teams in the AFC. This situation for Derek Carr is an interesting one in that the Saints, and he only had spent 2 years, by the way, with the Saints, not 3, so only 2, injured the last year. So it wasn't very prolific in New Orleans. He only played 27 games for New Orleans, missing the majority of last season with that injury that he ended up having to get surgery on. That's kind of what led to this retirement here. He had said that he didn't feel as though he'd be able to get back to the play he was at prior to the surgery. I'm sure a lot went into it. What do you guys tell me? The mic's off? Of course it is. Why not? Why not? It's always something. It's always something. Oh, my God. And how many times have I told myself I'm going to check the chat here to get into my rant, right? How many times have I told myself, how many times have I told you guys that? And I still don't do it. How is it now? How does it sound now? Testing 1, 2, 3. Good God. All right. Is it good now? All right, good. Well, if you couldn't hear me through the muddled microphone inside of the computer, that's absolutely awful. Now that we have the microphone turned on, discussing Derek Carr, the retirement that was announced this morning. The whole thing is odd to me because in talking about Derek Carr, what do you define Derek Carr as? He was that type of quarterback that was just good enough to remain your starter, but never good enough to really build around. The Raiders tried to do it for a very long time. He was there for the vast majority of his career. What was it?
just to double check here. So it was 9 years with the Raiders, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years. 11 years total, 2 years with the Saints, 9 years with the Raiders. Here's what I thought was really interesting when you're looking back at Derek Carr's career, because throughout his time in the NFL, you never viewed him as a bad quarterback by any means. He was good enough to be the starter everywhere he was for the majority of his career. One playoff appearance from Derek Carr. One playoff appearance, and it was in the loss to the Cincinnati Bengals when they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the LA Rams. If you remember, it was the wild card round. The Raiders had them beat. Bengals somehow miraculously pulled that game off. They went on that magical run in the postseason to make the Super Bowl. That loss that Derek Carr suffered at the hands of Joe Burrow and the Bengals, it was his only playoff appearance in 11 seasons in the NFL. If you were to have just asked a random NFL fan, hey, how many times do you think Derek Carr's been to the playoffs? I don't know if you'd say one. It just felt like he had a better career than that. But in reality, it was just a very middle of the path type career that resulted in one playoff appearance his entire time in the NFL. I wonder how much the drafting of Tyler Shuck weighed into this decision beyond the surgery he got. I believe it was on his ankle in the offseason. The discussion seemed to be, though, this offseason surrounding Derek Carr, the discussion seemed to be not necessarily him hanging it up, but it was more so, what's he going to look like in 2025? Are the Saints going to deal him after this year? What kind of pay is he going to be receiving after getting probably more than the Saints, looking back on it, would have liked to have signed up for if they had a redo, right? Now it's done. And hanging it up, 11 seasons in as a starter, if not for anything else, and this isn't sitting here saying like this wouldn't be the equivalent of one of the top players in the league at the position hanging it up, but we're talking about a guy who has a starting job, who has had a starting job for a decade in this league, retiring. You don't really see that happen at all. And I wonder what factored into the decision outside of the surgery, or if that was the main catalyst in the decision. Obviously, he knows his body better than anybody. He gets that surgery. He's rolling into the offseason. He's not feeling right. He's going into a year where they had already just drafted a rookie quarterback. The writing seems to be on the wall. It seems like the Saints don't really want him around to begin with, based on the amount of money paid, based on the injury, based on the fact that his time in New Orleans hasn't been that prolific in comparison to what they signed up for or were hoping they signed up for. But he ends up hanging it up. So Derek Carr, 11 seasons in the NFL, is going to be retiring. I wonder what the future is there. I wonder if he'll remain in and around the league in some capacity, if he'll get into media, if he'll try to get into coaching, or if this is the last we really see of Derek Carr within an NFL setting. This brought up a very interesting conversation, by the way, among me and my friends. And I thought I'd bring it up here. We'll talk about it when Rico gets on. But my buddy, once Derek Carr announced his retirement, my buddy sent it into our group chat. He was asking, now that Derek Carr is retired, who do you think, throughout the last 20-ish years or so, who's been the definition of the mid-tier quarterback? Because like I had just mentioned, that really was what Derek Carr was. He was just the middle ground quarterback. He wasn't top end, but he wasn't the worst in the league. He was quite literally the definition of a mid-tier quarterback. Not good enough to consider yourself a Super Bowl contending team. Not bad enough to be drafting in position to get a quarterback that you'd be satisfied replacing Derek Carr with, at least throughout his time with the Raiders. And we were talking about who is the guy that if you were to crown like the all-time mid-tier quarterback, who would it be? And we had so many names come up. There were so many guys that came up that I thought, honestly, you'd have a really valid argument for. And we'll have that discussion with Rico when he hops on. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments, because there was a ton of names being thrown out. And I think there were really sound arguments for many of them. I'm seeing Big Papa Bill mention Kirk Cousins. That was my initial answer, was Kirk Cousins. I think when I think about the ultimate mid-tier quarterback, Kirk Cousins was where my mind initially went. But I think Kirk Cousins was a significantly better quarterback than Derek Carr. With that being said, what does Kirk Cousins have to show for his career other than literally making more money than anyone could have ever fathomed based on what he was as a prospect, what he's really been in his career? Caroline, you keep walking over here. It feels like you have something to say, honey.
No, I was doing fun.
Oh, you're just having fun?
Happy Nurses Week.
Happy Nurses Week to Caroline. It was Nurses Week, and Caroline and I have been celebrating all week long.
Woo!
If you had to come up in your mind with the definition of the mid-tier quarterback, who would it be?
Tom Evans.
Tom Evans. Yeah, Tommy Evans wasn't that great, but he had his moments.
Hey.
Now, who did Tommy Evans play for again?
The Buffalo Bills.
No, Tommy didn't play for Buffalo. Who would?
His real name?
Yeah, Tommy Evans.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah,
you
he was.
Said it?
Yeah, he was. You're hitting it home.
Patriots.
Yeah, he did play for the Patriots. He did play for the Patriots. He played for them in the stopgap there between Brady and Drake May. There, he came in a couple times for.
Hey, see, I'm all there.
Yeah, yeah. See, you know your stuff. Caroline knows her stuff. Anyway, let me know in the chat what you think. Kirk Cousins was my initial answer. So many answers came out, and there were so many that was like, do we define him as the mid-tier quarterback? Was he better than that? Was he worse than that? I thought there was a significant argument for Eli Manning. And I think, and by the way, if you were on the stream with me when Josh Allen won the MVP and we saw the first ballot Hall of Famers be announced, I was stunned that Eli Manning was not a first ballot Hall of Famer. I thought that he would be considered one based on the Manning name and the 2 Super Bowls. Of course, 2 of the more unbelievable Super Bowl wins in NFL history. I just thought an argument was there. Outside of the 2 Super Bowls, both years in which they had very mediocre seasons until, of course, the playoff run, Eli Manning was a mid-tier quarterback for the vast majority of his career. But when you have the hardware he has under his belt and how he was able to acquire that hardware, it's really tough to make the argument. But you could also make the argument, this is why I think it was a valid argument, you could also make the argument that a mid-tier quarterback winning 2 Super Bowls would then crown him the king of mid-tier quarterbacks. And I'm seeing a lot of names in here that a lot of us brought up. I'm seeing Geno Smith being brought up here. Tua's name was brought up. Toronto, you're killing me. I brought up Kyle Orton myself because my buddy brought up Jay Cutler, and I said I thought I would take Kyle Orton over Jay Cutler. I brought up Jay Cutler. Ryan Tannehill was another really good argument. I thought that was like the perfect example. It feels like Ryan Tannehill and Derek Carr, that was a similar type career. But what's crazy is I think you think about Derek Carr and you don't think about him like Ryan Tannehill, but Ryan Tannehill probably had a better career than Derek Carr. At least, in a valid argument, I think you could make a point that Ryan Tannehill had a better career. They were a 1 seed 1 year, not all that long ago. 1 seed. And I know the vast majority of that was due to Derrick Henry, of course. But like I said, Derek Carr's got 1 playoff appearance, a wild card appearance, and a loss. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, at the bare minimum, has more to show for the success on the field in totality for his team than Derek Carr, which is kind of crazy because it feels like no one ever really talked about Ryan Tannehill in the same breath as they talked about Derek Carr. And it's not like anybody was talking about Derek Carr like he was the best in the business, but it always felt like when you thought of Ryan Tannehill, it was like, meh. Derek Carr was propped up on a pedestal several times throughout his career. And you look back on it, and it's kind of crazy that it never really seemed to pan out the way it might have been able to. And now that you're looking at him hanging it up, you look back on that career and you wonder how that's going to be defined. And I think that you're looking at the middle ground there, and it's right there. And I think he's in that pantheon of guys that define the top tier of the middle of the pack. I'm seeing Tyrod brought up here. I brought up Tyrod. I said, I think Tyrod during his stint with the Bills was about as good of a middle tier quarterback as you could possibly find. We had Jake Delhomme was brought up. Chad Pennington was brought up. Tony Romo was brought up. You know, I think there's an argument. If we're talking about guys in the league right now, I think there's an argument for Dak Prescott. Personally, there's that cluster of guys that I think are awfully similar. And I think Dak Prescott and Tua Tagovailoa are awfully similar in the fact that I think a lot of people think that they are better than they actually are. And if they were to have the same type of career for 4 or 5 more seasons and then retire like Derek Carr, you're going to look at those guys, I think, like Derek Carr. I think you're going to look at them in the same way, even though up until now, you know, there was arguments for Tua to be an MVP not all that long ago. Dak Prescott was allegedly the second place MVP, candidate last year behind Lamar. And I just think you look at those guys and they're all more similar than meets the eye. Big Papa's coming in, by the way, saying, turn on your mic. I know. I wish I would have saw that earlier. So when I start these things, the chat doesn't immediately pop up and I have to go and click on it myself. And, you know, I get into it and I don't realize 5 or so minutes go by. And, I mean, if you're a loyal viewer, you know that this has happened more times than we can count. So I appreciate you letting me know, Big Papa. Unfortunately, that's on me. 5 minutes too late. Richie's coming in. Nowhere I'd rather be on a Saturday night. Stadium looking amazing, says Richie. Seats going in soon. Hasn't quite hit me yet that this is the last year at the Ralph. Has not hit me yet either, Richie. It really hasn't. I wonder when it will. I wonder how much that'll be brought up throughout the year. I got to be honest. I don't think it'll really hit me till probably December, right? When it gets into the nitty gritty of the season, when you realize, man, including the playoffs, there's probably only going to be 3-4 more games in this stadium. That's probably when it's going to hit me. Stadium's coming along incredibly. It looks, I mean, the exterior of it basically looks right now like it's going to look on opening day. They've done an incredible job getting that thing up. I have mentioned that, you know, when I was at the Broncos wild card game, that thing wasn't even close to what it is now. And that was only back in January. I mean, they've been moving the last 4 or 5 months here, and it's really coming along. And like you mentioned, they just put in the first 2 seats either yesterday or a couple of days ago, and now they're going to be putting in all the seats. And before you know it, they're going to be putting in, you know, the scoreboard and the jumbotron and all the little things, and boom, that thing's going to be ready. As I always say, bittersweet. I'm very excited for that stadium. Very sad to see the Ralph go. So it's a tough thing to kind of, you know, tough emotions to discern, but I think it is for the best, and I'm very excited to get into that stadium when it opens up. Truth to hearts, and this was an interesting one too. We were talking about Fitzpatrick, of course, Fitzmagic. But I don't know if you can define Fitzmagic as this is where we were starting to get into like tiers of this thing, because I think Fitz has an argument for maybe being the best backup of all time. When we were thinking about like mid-tier quarterbacks, we were mostly thinking about guys who were long-term starters for like the majority of their career. Fitz, you know, was a starting quarterback earlier in his career, then was just a journeyman throughout the majority of it, all the way till he ended up hanging it up. I think there's a valid argument there, but I look at Fitz as more of the top tier of the backup quarterback as opposed to the mid-tier quarterback, even though you could also say those two things kind of coincide. But there was so many names being brought. I'm seeing Baker being brought up. I think Baker right now, I was thinking about this the other day. Baker might be the most underrated quarterback in the NFL. That offense is legit in Tampa Bay. They just added another wide receiver in the first round of the draft to that offense. And I think Baker really has started to find his footing. I think we've got to give a little bit of grace to Baker because of the Cleveland situation, then being danced around Carolina in LA. He's now found his spot. And I think personally, at this moment in time, Baker Mayfield, one of the more, if not the most underrated quarterback in the NFL as it stands right now. And up until this point, like Baker Mayfield has had more success than Trevor Lawrence, who was supposed to be the next Peyton Manning. He's had more success than Justin Herbert. And everybody talks about Justin Herbert like he's a top 7 or 8 guy. I think Baker Mayfield is an underrated guy in this league who only seems to be getting better and better, hasn't had the best team around him. It feels like with the division being as weak as it is for Tampa Bay, It feels like with that offense, the potency, adding Bucky Irving, they now have an additional wide receiver. Chris Godwin's going to be healthy. Patience with Baker Mayfield. And even though I know it's been now 8 seasons, I think Baker Mayfield is more on an upward trajectory than he is a downward or flatline trajectory. And I'm very impressed with the resurgence of Baker Mayfield's career. That thing could have really fallen off of a cliff, Rico. And I think as we look at it right now, I think that there's more respect for Baker Mayfield in year 8 than there was, in the initial years where everybody was just anticipating that this was going to be an all-time bust. He has really resurrected his career in a way I don't think a lot of people saw coming. How are you,
Baker Mayfield? I'm doing well, buddy. Are we doing the agua today?
Yeah, I got a little I found these little not sugar pack, like they're like flavor packets, and this one's they're like energy drink things, but they have like no sugar in it or whatever. I don't know. It'll probably kill me, but I like it. It's delish.
Well, what up, people? It is Friday night. I apologize. I had my guy Bot hold it down. I had to go and pick up. Today's been it's been a busy day, man. It's been daddy running things for the most part all day. Girls were at parties. We have kids, man. They go to birthday parties, and I had to go pick one up at 9. Yeah, right at 9. She's like, "Don't come in here early," and it's got to be at 9. I was like, "Oh, you're killing me!" And the nerve of her. I get there, and I was like, "Hey, let's go. Hurry up." She's like, "For what?" Ooh. I was like, "Listen, don't try to sass me in front of these parents."
Is this your eldest or your middle?
It's the middle. Yeah. Like, for what? What are you doing? Like, why are you rushing me? I was like, because it's 9 o'clock. I'm trying to be nice. In my mind, I was like, "Girl, wait till you get in the car. I'm gonna let you have it."
Yeah.
So she's like, "We're podcasting."
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you podcasting? I was like, "Yes." So how about you hurry up? So dad has things to do. Oh, when she got in the car, I was like, "Girl, don't you test me in front of these people because I'll put you in your place." Anyway, we are here. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was say while I was waiting for you, I was riffing about Derek Carr retiring because even though it doesn't feel like
he actually retired.
Actually retired. And I was saying, even though it doesn't really feel like a big deal, Rico, you don't really see a starting quarterback in the NFL in his 11th year just say, "Hey, you know what? I'm calling it here." You don't see this often. And it kind of we're doing a retrospect right now on Derek Carr's career. And I thought it was interesting. He'd only ever had one playoff appearance. And I was asking the chat because my buddies and I were talking earlier because it brought up this conversation of like, who is the ultimate middle tier quarterback where you're thinking of like the face of the middle of the pack? Like, who do you think of? Because Derek Carr has a really good case for that. And then there were a bunch of other names that come up like Kirk Cousins. We had talked about right now, modern day, Tua comes up, Dak comes up. And then
middle
of
the pack. Where
what do you think of?
Middle of the pack on the good end or like you're borderline?
No, that's the thing. Like
backup.
No, like so like to clarify, like someone said Fitz earlier, and I said I don't think Fitz qualifies because I look at him as more of a generational backup quarterback. Nobody would be in better hands in the backup position than Fitz. I'm thinking more of a guy who started the majority of his career, was never good enough to take your team the distance, never bad enough to where you felt like, hey, we could really improve instantly. One other one I brought up earlier, and I think it's a really good one. I brought this up to my buddies, was Joe Flacco. I think there's a major argument for Joe Flacco being the all-time middle-tier quarterback, Super Bowl champion, still playing. Big argument for him.
Well, because he won one, Eli Manning. To me,
I know that's what I was saying.
Manning would be like you're like he's a starter, but he ain't even that nice. But he won 2 Super Bowls, so like how you gonna hate on Eli? And that's why the big conversation with around surrounding Eli is he a Hall of Famer or is he not? He took down Tom Brady for crying out loud. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that was a big year for the Patriots that year. So
they're undefeated.
Eli Manning stands out. Flacco is a good barometer of like majority of a starter, but like you never really thought like you look at it and be like, it's just Flacco. You're not scared of Flacco. You were never scared. So those are the two. I heard you say Baker Mayfield. Now that I understand, I think Baker Mayfield is not. I think he's very good. I don't think he's in that middle.
So do I.
I think he's above that. I think he just was given a raw shake with Cleveland. Cleveland was just they're just a bunch of haters out there. But I think Eli Manning is right on that. Like I never feared Eli. He was just okay. Not the most athletic. His arm was but I mean he was
outside of the 2 Super Bowl years. Eli was the definition of a middle tier quarterback. But the Super Bowl wins were so prolific.
Dalton would be up there.
So I'm seeing, by the way, in the chat, you guys are killing me because everybody you're mentioning, we essentially mentioned, me and my buddies. So you guys are, everybody's on the same wavelength there. But Captain Salty, put a little respect on the Buffalo Bills legend, okay? Andy Dalton. Captain Salty goes, what about the red-haired dude from Cincinnati? And I was glad to see Laura said, we love him. That is a Wall of Famer, in my opinion. I love doing this. My buddy Nate.
Andy Dalton might be the most mid, like a majority starter for most of his career, and then
it's a great one.
So, and I guess you could say, what would you consider Palmer when Palmer was with?
Carson Palmer was Andy Dalton. Like there was literally a transition to the same guy for like 20 years. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I always got in an argument with my buddy's dad, though. My buddy's dad hated when I told him that I would always go up to him. Like he would come out and visit us in college, and I'd be like, hey man, so like, what are your thoughts on inducting Andy Dalton into the Bills Wall of Fame? And he would just freak out. He would be so mad about me saying it. Yeah.
I think Andy Dalton is the front runner in all of this because he didn't win you enough games. But no, he won you enough games to make it to the playoffs, but just could never get over the hump. Just like you never feared him enough, but he did just enough. You know what I mean, to get the Bills in. So go figure on what it is. But Andy Dalton definitely is that mid tier. But to back on I just got the news now that he retired because I
you didn't know?
From my phone most of the day. So I like Derek Carr.
Yeah,
I thought Derek Carr was a good quarterback, man. I think he got a raw deal, and him retiring is it because of a surgery that he did? And he says, "Screw it."
So he was hurt, got that surgery. I believe it was the ankle. But then remember the Saints also drafted Tyler Shuck out of Louisville at 40th overall. Rico, I read a stat earlier. I think he'll be the first quarterback drafted in the second round to start the season in like the last 7 or 8 years. So it's rare. This situation is rare that the Saints are currently in. But he had said that he didn't feel he could return to what he once was off this surgery was basically.
I respect it, which now brings me to your thoughts on something here. So strategic or not that the Saints passed up knowing or had a great idea or good indication that Carr was not going to return. I'm sure he's been having conversations with these guys all off season. They can't tell me they were shocked by this. I don't want to hear it. You guys took Tyler Shook over Sanders. And and I say, is it strategic or not? And the reason I say this is, are they tanking for next year's draft class, trying to earn their way to try to get not Eli Manning. I was gonna say Archie Manning. I was saying Archie for crying out loud. What's that Manning's name? The young
Archie.
One.
Hot take. I don't think he's gonna go to the draft.
You think he's gonna stay another year?
I think he is. I think a lot of these guys should, Rico, because I think he'll probably break the NIL record for money made when he becomes the starter and when he really starts to become the face of Texas and he starts to become the face of college football. I think that if he declares for the draft next year, then he's missing out on an extra year of development. He'll only have 1 year of college football under his belt. He hasn't played yet. And I also think that, you're going to be in a situation where you're going to be going to a team, not that you wouldn't the following year, but you're going to be going to a team that is going to need you to be good right away. I don't know if a year at Texas right into the league is going to allow him to be that guy. And I feel like he's going to start his career off on the wrong foot and it might not ever pick up from there. I think an additional year making the money he could make with the NIL while also getting another year of college ball under his belt to get even better for the league, it would not stun me if he didn't declare next year.
I'm not mad at that. Who was it that declared that should have stayed 1 year longer, but he declared and it just wasn't. Was it last year's draft? Where it was a quarterback should have stayed in
Quinn Ewers should have went to the draft last year instead of staying. And it goes both ways.
Should have went, but there was one that he should have stayed 1 year. It's a popular quarterback. Who was it that declared that should have man, you should have stayed 1 more year?
Last year?
Was it last year or was it who were the quarterbacks last year that you're like, dude, you should have stayed? Why did you come out? And then ended up being a disaster that he came out. Who was it? Somebody help me out. I don't know why I'm
last year's draft? First round?
I'm gonna take a look. There was like, you're like, why'd you even declare? You should have stayed. What are you doing? Oh, why is it not coming to me? Oh, it's gonna come to me.
I don't know. But to answer your question, I was saying earlier, like, this was awfully surprising to me. I don't know if the Saints were aware he was going to retire. Like, there was no leaks on this or anything. Like, this kind of came out of left field. So I don't know. I also know, Rico, that the Saints gave him a 4-year, $150 million deal. And they were not satisfied with the return on that, especially after the injury. The writing was on the wall, regardless if he was going to retire or not, that they wanted an out. And I wonder if that led to him retiring, not the other way around. But I don't know if they were aware this was coming. I don't know if anybody was.
It's not coming to me who the quarterback is going to come to me, because I know there was a quarterback that declared, they're like, dude, you came out way too soon. It's not coming to me. But I will say this, strategic or not, and the fact that I asked you this because I'm wondering, okay, what the hell are the Saints thinking? They had an opportunity to grab a quarterback that could at least hold them over, and the fans would be excited for them to bring this brother in and really show him some love, and he could really give the life to that. And then you're bringing Tyler Shuck. I saw a stat today that he was damn near bottom of the list out of all the quarterbacks in his 2024 stats collegiately. It was, I think, who was it that posted it on Twitter?
Sharp. Yeah, Warren Sharp's post.
Warren Sharp.
Not a good list of stats. Yeah.
I was like, what? The Saints have got to, like, you were so dumb, and you were a dumb enough of program or franchise to, you put your pride in front of what should have made sense for you to grab Shedeur Sanders, and you're gonna pay for it. You idiots. I can't wait for the Saints to fail. And I don't care about the Saints whatsoever. And if Tyler Shuck surprises everybody and shocks the world, so be it. But what a terrible idea. And whoever the GM and coach and all that crap, y'all deserve to be fired next year, man. Y'all are bums. How do you do that? Like, you give your quarterback, your team, no hope. Derek Carr was your hope. What are you going to go with Tyler Ritter or whoever Ritter is?
Desmond Ritter.
Nah, man. Nah. No, ain't nobody buying that. Nobody's buying that. What a terrible idea by these guys. So, but good for Derek Carr, man. Look, listen, you had a good run. You made some good money in the NFL. So it's like, okay, I don't got nothing to prove. I got the next phase of my life is taking care of my kids, and I'm well paid. I've got generational wealth. I'm good. And my mind is still is right. Dude, I ain't mad at him. I'm not mad at him one bit.
I don't blame him either. I'm shocked we don't see enough of this. That's why it is shocking that he does hang it up after 11 years, because you just don't see that often. I mean, God, Joe Flacco is still playing, right? I mean, you got guys who will play until the wheels literally fall off. And the only other thing I can think of in terms of a guy, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make the Andrew Luck comparison because it's so much different, but he's the last guy I can think of where he's a starter in the league and he hangs it up well before anybody anticipated, even though they were far different quarterbacks. And,
right.
you know, he was at the peak of his career and the Colts were right there. This is the only thing that comes to mind in terms of a guy hanging it up with a starting job that, you know, had no sign prior of him coming to an end. So,
and you know what? I totally screwed this up. And who I was referring to, I know it was nothing to do with the NBA. Excuse me, NFL. It was NBA. And I was talking about Bronny James. Him coming out. Right. Him coming out like you had no business. And the reason I brought that up is because you said you think that Manning will stay in school because of an NIL, develop himself a little bit more, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. James should have did the same thing. Stay one more year. And you know what? The youngest one with the glasses that looks like freaking Otis Grant from freaking the Chicago Bulls of back in the day. I think he might be a better pro because he's gonna go through the college routes, and I think he'll do what he needs to do and stick around. But we'll see. But anyway, the Saints, the Derek Carr, it's all news to me. But I think great career. It sucks. I thought he would have had more success with the Raiders. I think the Raiders should have kept him. I think them moving on from him when they brought Devontae over, like, you could have built something there. You could have absolutely built something there. But they're another program that wasn't well run. So go figure. I don't know if you saw there was Josh Jacobs was just airing the Raiders out. I don't know if you saw an interview that he
I saw a little bit of it, but not enough to. I didn't see a ton of it.
He was airing their business out and pretty much putting two and two together. It was McDaniel that was the head coach at the time, and I think it was Telesco.
Yeah, that was a mess.
It was a mess, and they were just like, "Yo, no," and he was like, "I'll take less to play." No, they just kept on saying, "No, you're out of here. You're not doing it," and just pure disrespect. So some programs and some franchises are run the way they're run because of who's in charge, and you can see it. So glad to know that the Bills are a well-run organization. They got themselves a franchise quarterback, and there's something you could look forward to the future. You could look forward to the future on when you look at the Bills. Some teams, they're just doomed to start. The Saints are one of them. Like, where do you got an aging running back, you got no quarterback, you got an aging defense, bro. What are you doing with that?
Not to mention they have a new head coach who is the youngest in the NFL going into 2025.
Buddy,
rebuild on the way for the Saints. And little silver lining for us Buffalo Bills fans. Saints Bills at home in 2025. I think you can pencil in the Bills as a double-digit favorite in that game, I would imagine. We'll find out when they play them, Rico. Wednesday evening when the schedule is released. I can't believe it's already almost here. We're going to see what's going down.
Wednesday evening? Because I hope you bring the juice.
I can't wait.
We gotta make it show that we not only do we predict what it's gonna be, but we gotta jump into predicting who's gonna lead the team in receptions. We're gonna break it down to see our predictions and how it plays out for the rest of the year. It's gonna be fun.
As I mentioned at the top of the show, Wednesday is gonna be the live schedule release party like we do every year. And Rico just said it. That is typically the time where we do our early off-season predictions, where we tell you what we think the Bills are going to do record-wise, who we think is going to lead the way, like Rico just said, receptions, and what kind of stats Allen's going to, kind of put out on the table, especially after an MVP year. Not going to want to miss Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. live right here on the BF YouTube channel. We'll talk about all of that, and of course, dive deep into what the Bills schedule is going to look like in 2025. Do you think we're going to have another 5-6 primetime games? Is that inevitable? It's got to be, right?
Absolutely. Listen, it's inevitable. If you got 17 leading the way, they're definitely not going to take away any games. That's for that. They want it. They want blockbuster. They want sparks. They're looking. The Bills, anytime the Bills play, it's like you don't have to be a Bills fan. You're looking forward to this team. And you don't really hate the Bills. You quite enjoy watching the Bills.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know many fans that hate the Bills. And the only reason if they do hate the Bills is because they're in the AFC East and they just hate. They just detest us. But most people are like, yo, I respect the Bills. I like what the Bills are doing, man. I like it. I want y'all to win one. I want you guys to win one. In my mind, I'm like, go F yourself, first of all. We're going to win one without you having pity on us, number one.
Right.
You're going to pity on us. I want you to win one. No, we're going to take it. We're going to take it. I mean, it's taking a while for us to take it, but we won't take it now.
The Bills have been the fourth most primetime game since 2020. I can't imagine anything will change anytime soon. There has been a rumor circulating, by the way, Rico, and NY Mafia 2K is bringing it up right now. He's saying, what do you think about the rumor of the Bills playing the Steelers in Ireland? I've seen this popping around now. It's come out that Josh Allen, so as they do every year before the schedule comes out, the NFL loves to drop little pieces of the schedule leading up to the actual full schedule reveal. They'll be doing the same this year. One of the ways they'll be doing that is on Monday on the Today Show. And allegedly, Josh Allen is on the guest list for Monday morning's Today Show on NBC. Could mean nothing, could mean something. I would imagine that some sort of schedule reveal will be taking place with Josh Allen on Monday, but it also has been rumored that there could be a reveal of Bills Steelers in Ireland. How would you feel about the Bills hopping over to Pittsburgh? It would be, it would count as, I believe, an away game. So they wouldn't be losing a home game over it. How would you feel about the Bills hopping over to Ireland to play this year?
Well, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Chappelle Show. And if you were a fan of watching the Chappelle Show, I would say I wish I had more hands so I can give those prediction for those games 4 thumbs down because I hate it. Going to Ireland, I want no parts of that. I absolutely want no parts of that. No way. For what? Only want to stretch the game. Send those bum ass teams out there. Send the Jaguars. Send the Panthers. I mean, send the Arizona Cardinals. Send those guys. I mean, keep those primetime big old games for the people in North America, so we can deal with this and enjoy these games, man. Get out of here with that, bro. I want no parts of it. But what if we sent you tickets so you can go to Ireland to enjoy it? No, I want.
Well, then you might be twisting my arm.
I don't know, because it's not. Yo, listen, take it from someone that has experience in when the NFL tried the Bills to Canada games, bro. It was the worst thing ever. Go ask any Canadian Bills fan that watched that mess. You had the stadium filled with, listen, Commanders jerseys, Redskins jerseys, Panthers jerseys. You had all walks of life. You had like a United Nations of NFL teams all up in that stadium to watch a Bills Cardinals game. Get out of here. I want no parts of it. Send some bum ass team. Like, you know what? Experiment with the Patriots. We don't know if the Patriots are going to be good or not. Send those idiots out there. But leave my team alone in North America so we can watch that shit properly. What say you? I mean, I feel strongly about it. What about you?
Well, for starters, I forgot about the Toronto series. Holy hell, I forgot that even existed. Of course, that was back when it was rumored the Bills were going to become the Toronto Bills. So that played a factor in it, I'm sure. Now I don't think you'd be getting that because the Bills are filling every single seat, filling up, the Nielsen rating as well, playing in Buffalo. So thank God those days are long gone. I completely forgot about that. It's crazy. I can actually still remember they had a patch. They wore a patch on their jersey for the Toronto series. I can still see it. Oh, my God.
It was the worst thing ever, and everyone was so excited. Like, at the time, it was like, oh, maybe it's going to be the Toronto Bills. Are you kidding me? I was so sick to my stomach to even hear that nonsense. No thanks.
Well, it was also the telltale sign of being an awful organization, right? Because at that time, only the Jags and whoever else were playing internationally. The Bills had multiple international games as well before anybody had went over there. Because like you said, they kind of take the bottom tier and throw them over there. That's why Jacksonville's gone as much as they have. Yep. I'm with you. I can't get out of my mind how horrific the last time the Bills were playing internationally went. The amount of injuries they sustained in that Jacksonville game, how awful they played in that game. It was terrible. I can't get that out of my mind. They really never play well over there. No. But the injuries were even worse. I mean, they lost Milano in that game. They lost like 4 defensive players in that game, and it was just horrendous on top of losing. So I'm out. I'm with it.
And I don't know how it works. Like I would assume, I guess the teams have no say. So Goodell says that's where you're going. That's where you're going. That's what it is. Or I have no idea how this plays out. But if the Bills in any way had a choice, please just say no. Just say freaking no. I remember, I don't know what team went to Brazil. 2 teams that decided to play in Brazil, and the amount of things that they had to factor in, security, this, that, and the third, going to a foreign country, bro. No,
it was the opener last year. It was Green Bay and Philadelphia, I believe.
There you go. And the fact that you knew that, kudos to you. And here's the other thing: with the way the world is going these days, to go foreign, like there's too much silliness happening. So, bro, just keep the game normal and just keep it rolling. But listen, the NFL is trying to expand. Maybe there's going to be 1 or 2 international teams that they'll try to add. Who knows? Who the freaking knows? I just don't like it. I'm not a fan. And
totally agree.
Based on what I see in the chat right now, not a whole lot of people are fans of it either.
Well, what's because how really, like, unless you live over there, how does it benefit you? It doesn't at all. Unless you're planning on going there or you live there, all you think about is the time it takes to get over there, the lesser playing conditions, the fact that they have not played well over there. You factor in the injuries they've sustained over there. There's really no positive. If you are a local Bills fan, I don't really see where you're drawing the positive elements of an international game from. And again, though, from the NFL's perspective, there's nothing but positive elements. You're sending the MVP over there. If they play the Steelers, that's 2 playoff teams playing internationally. The rating will be great. They'll sell the place out. I get it from the NFL's perspective. It makes too much sense, but there's a reason why all domestic fans hate it. And this idea that they're going to be playing a Super Bowl over there makes me sick. I think that is egregious because I just think that's a bridge way too far. But I get why they're doing it. But like you said, they're going to fill that stadium, whether it's Bills, Steelers, or whether it's Jags, Browns. I mean, people are going to go to that game if they live there and they're an NFL fan. So the problem is, though, the NFL is also realizing now that they can fill just about any time window, no matter what day, no matter what time, and they want to maximize on that. And in order to do that, they need better teams to get better money. And I think that it makes a lot of sense from their perspective, but from our fan perspective, I completely agree. There's no benefit to it at all.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. So I mean, if that's what Goodell and them boys want to do, so be it. And then now, and I don't know what the time. Let's just say it's a 1 p.m. game. No, they wouldn't do that to us.
No, it'd be 9 a.m. That's the other thing.
Ugh. A 9 a.m. game. That's brutal. I ain't trying to wake up at 9 a.m. to watch a Bills game. Are you kidding me? Are you nuts?
Well, that was the worst part about the last time. You wake up at 9 a.m. You just lost like 3 defensive starters, and the Bills lost to the Jags all before noon. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's awful.
That's another thing. That's another. And I'll tell you right now, I'll be straight up. I haven't missed a Bills game in years. How many games have you missed? What's the last game you've missed?
I've never missed one.
Never missed a game.
Other than a few lacrosse schedule conflicts growing up where I would miss it live, but back in that day, which is crazy to say, here I am, not even 30 yet. I'm saying back in my day, but legitimately back in that day, you could DVR the game. You could DVR the game, and nobody had iPhones yet. So it wasn't like everybody was watching it on the sideline of the tournament or stalking the internet. You could get away with it. So I missed a few live. I've never actually missed a game, though. So I don't know.
Let me ask you a question. Is it considered a missed game if you don't see it live? Did you miss the game if you didn't see it live?
Yes, you missed the game.
You missed the game.
Yes.
Because to me, you missed the game if you didn't watch it at all. So now you're just getting pieces and stuff from people. Like, I missed it. What did I get? You're reading about it. But if you missed the game live, but you didn't look at your phone and you watched it, I mean, as soon as you got home from
you got to be like Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible level stealthy to get away with it these days. Like, you got to be ducking and covering every second to get home without seeing it live.
It's a matter of turning your phone off completely.
Yes.
And just zoning in. Because I'll tell you right now, these 9 o'clock games that take place, I will not miss a church service for that. So I'm going.
I don't blame you.
Go do my business. And if I miss that game, I miss that game. The only thing is the live show will most likely have to be done by you.
Yeah.
I can't come in here and be like, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, totally. Unless we wait till the afternoon to do it. That's a whole different ballgame. We'll discuss that. But yeah, I don't like that 9 a.m. game. Give me a break. Not interested. I
would say you missed it, but I would give you a pass. Like if you said, I missed it live, but I'm going to be, I don't know. I just feel like it's almost impossible to do it now. There's none. Richie's coming in, by the way. He said, I get money, but there was a time the average fan can squeeze money easy to go watch their team, and the Super Bowl doesn't really exist. Goodell simply doesn't care. I don't know if there's ever been an easy way to go watch a Super Bowl. I'll tell you what, though. Enjoy this final year. If you're a fan and you haven't been to the Ralph, you should really do it, because those ticket prices are going to never be what they are right now, ever again.
100%. What's Walter saying?
Walt's saying that's like not going to a wedding and then watching the wedding video and you say you were there.
I was there.
Yeah.
What a beautiful wedding. That was awesome. Can you imagine?
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, I guess. I mean, right. But the thing of it is, though, is that'd be like saying you went to a game when you watched it on TV, though. Like there's people, like I've seen online people that'll just like watch the highlights, and I like, God bless them. I would be losing my mind. I couldn't like operate like that.
I can't do that. No, I can't operate. Can't do it.
No.
Can't do it. Won't do it. No doubt about it. But I'm actually glad to see that our franchises move forward, and it means they want. Cream of the crop going to represent their game overseas. I get it. I just don't like it. So I guess we'll see how it all plays out. And I'm super charged for this year. I do have questions for you, brother.
I got answers, hopefully.
I was doing a stream on Bleacher the other day, and I got to talking about rookie minicamp, and I got to talking about, seeing these players on the team. Yo, I got myself excited for this year. like a lot more excited than I have been in a long time about this rookie class and how they're going to be integrated into this team. And the conversation or dialogue that I was having, or monologue, if you will, that I was having myself was like, yo, there's going to be some shakeups on this roster, some shakeups that we may have not anticipated will happen. And there's definitely some conversations to be had in where these positional shakeups will take place. But before we get into all of that, I was actually really excited about this rookie mini camp and what we were able to see on screen. I know they're in, little jerseys and shorts, and they're running around. So how much can you take from that? But there's little things that you can take from that and talk about it. So your thoughts on this rookie class that's come in on this rookie mini camp, and is your excitement level? Is it still the same? Has it decreased? Has it increased? Where are you at in terms of your excitement for this draft class and how they're going to be integrated into this rookie mini camp and training camp and so on and so forth?
Well, I love seeing the guys in the uniform, right? They have all the nice professional pictures done. Then you go and see them out practicing. Then it becomes real. All of a sudden, these guys go from draft picks, college players to nope, they are NFL players just like that. Like you almost forget that they were drafted 2 weeks ago. Nope, now it's just you're an NFL player. And it's kind of weird how that transition is instantaneous. And you see them out there running around just like anybody else would be. My excitement level from pre-draft to post-draft has gone up quite significantly.
Oh, okay, good.
I think that the optimism I had for the defense on Thursday morning before the draft, as opposed to Monday morning post-draft, has increased quite significantly. I think the outlook I have for this defense, not only for this season, but for the foreseeable future, it has taken quite a drastic uptick. Now, maybe that might be naive. We'll end up finding out eventually. But Brandon Beane just invested the bulk of this draft class towards revamping this defense and getting it to where it needs to be, to try and match somewhat what the Bills offense is putting out on display. You also factor in Rico, and as soon as the Bills opponents came out, when it was announced who the Bills will be playing in 2025.
Yep.
And you can go back, and I've said this prior, but you can go back and fact check me. I immediately said that away schedule to me, that's an 8-0 schedule. I don't see a loss.
Oh, damn. You went as far as to say that?
Yeah. I just don't see a loss. But that was before factoring in anything, like win percentage, anything. It has just come out. Speaking of Warren Sharp again, killing it. He posted, based on a variety of factors, the hardest to easiest schedule, 1 through 32.
Okay.
The Bills have the 5th easiest schedule in the NFL in 2025, and I believe they're the only playoff team to be in the top 10 easiest schedules. It's remarkable. When you also factor in that the Giants, one of the worst teams of last year, have the toughest schedule in the NFL this year. The Bills do have, you look at their schedule and you're like, man, you got to play Cincy at home. You got to play the Chiefs at home, Philadelphia at home, Baltimore at home. There are a bunch of marquee games, but outside of those, like, oh, that's a primetime game type looking game, it's a whole lot of, man, I don't know how the Bills aren't just rolling these guys, right? We just brought up the Saints earlier. That's an example of Carolina's on that schedule. Like, just give me the argument as to how the Bills lose that game unless they go out and just completely mess themselves for 60 straight minutes. So I'm factoring in that, which I think to be, a massive benefit to Buffalo. I also think, and I was going to, I was going to save it for Wednesday, but I was thinking about this.
Save it for Wednesday. Save it for Wednesday.
No, I will. I'll say it now. I'll say it.
All
now.
right.
Yeah, maybe I'll say.
No, I'm going to say that.
I'll say this. I'll give you a teaser.
All right.
If the Bills were ever going to get the 1 seed in the AFC, this would be the year to do it. That's my little teaser there for you as to where my brain currently is on my thoughts on Buffalo in 2025.
We were ranked the 5th easiest schedule.
5th easiest schedule.
Who was 1 to 4?
Who you'd expect to be. Let me pull it up. I have it right here. But no one comparable to the Buffalo Bills in terms of who they are as the team. Let me go in and double check here.
I mean, we had a pretty tough schedule last year. I thought our schedule was, I was like, oh, shoot.
Like,
to the point where people were like, yo, these guys might win like 9 games. That's how tough that schedule was. So it's nice that the schedule makers were like, all right, we'll give these guys a bone a little bit. We'll see how these guys shake out and make out. But I mean, listen, The schedule sometimes means absolute dog nonsense. You know what I'm talking about? So, but in hindsight, if it's the 5th easiest schedule for a reason, you get it. Like, you take a look at the Saints team, bro, that should be a steamroll.
So
no question about it.
Here are the top 5 easiest schedules, okay? The Niners have the easiest. The Patriots, the Saints, the Falcons, all 4, of course, non-playoff teams last year. Then it's the Bills. So if you're looking at the ranking of teams in the so here are the top 10 easiest schedules according to Warren Sharp's analysis here. It's the Niners, the Patriots, the Saints, the Falcons, the Bills, the Jags, the Panthers, the Titans, the Dolphins, and the Bucks. So the Bucks were a playoff team, but you go even further. Arizona's 11, Indy's 12, Seattle's 13, Denver's 14. The Bills are one of only 2 playoff teams, Rico, in the top 14.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Of the NFL to have the easiest schedule. And they're the 5th overall easiest. They're the only one in the top 9. You can't tell me that isn't playing a factor. You also look at the NFC or the AFC East and what it's been. And we've mentioned this. The Raiders are going to be better this year. The Chargers are going to try to avenge what they, wound up ending the season with last year.
100%. You talking?
And you can't tell me the Chiefs are just going to continue to win every single game by 3 points like they did last year. Something's got to give at some point. Now, of course, they'll probably do it. They probably will, because of course they will. But man, like, at some point, it's got to come to an end. Not saying that the reign that they have on the league is going to come to an end, but this ability to win every single game by the skin of their teeth. So what I'm saying here is that everything's kind of aligning for the Bills to have a prolific season on top of, back to answer your question, what we're seeing going into the year rookie-wise. They addressed every area of need defensively that needed addressment, and I really like the choices in all those areas. And not to mention, those guys, not only do they align with what the Bills need currently, but I think they're going to be an immediate impact. They're going to be out on that field causing or, being a part of this, this team's overall success right away. And I'm very optimistic about the defense right now. Like I said, if you compare it right now to the day before the draft, I feel a lot more optimistic. And I had this conversation when I was live last week, and I think Walt was kind of pushing back on me, a few others were, and I get it, because we don't know what these guys are going to be. But I really don't see an argument out there against being more optimistic on this defense than prior to the draft. They just went out and got 3 guys that at some point were considered to be, top 40-ish talent. Landon Jackson, you remember, Rico, when we were live draft night round 1, who was Rev saying the Bills should take at 30? Landon Jackson.
Yes,
right?
He was.
So the Bills ended up getting 3 top-tier defensive players, in my opinion. 4 if you want to go into the 4th round as well. I think they got some X factor guys on defense early. I think they're going to be contributors early this year. Yeah. Tough not to be more optimistic on defense going into 2025.
I'm absolutely optimistic about it. And the more I broke it down, the more what I totally get excited about is like the internal battles that are going to be taking place, right? So you've got, and not to get too into it right now, because I know we've got a few things that we're going to touch on, but it's something that we've got to look at. Like, listen, Landon Jackson, Greg Rousseau, Joey Bosa, AJ Epinesa, Solomon, and I feel like I'm forgetting one more edge rusher. Bro, that in itself is interesting. And then you have the interior linemen. How many do you carry? How many do you take?
And that's where it gets really exciting. The interior. Plus, Rico, we keep forgetting, and I keep forgetting this. Joey Bosa. A healthy Joey Bosa is one of the best pass rushers in the league.
Listen. And the biggest thing is nobody's really giving too much stock to it. And I get it. I get it. There's not much excitement when you mention Joey Bosa. The excitement is just in the name, but then it's like, yeah, but he's known to get hurt. Once he shows or he gives a glimpse of the old Joey Bosa in the first couple games, excitement is going to go through the roof, and guys are going to be all over Buffalo's D. And I'm going to be all the way here for it. And the fact that I wouldn't call it under the radar, but he is kind of under the radar. You hear Joey Bosa's name, and it's like an afterthought, right? So once they start, buzzing and doing what they do, they're going to be like, holy crap, we didn't realize that the Bills got Joey Bosa on their team, and he's What is he like? Not even 30 yet? Is he 29 to 30?
He's like right on the cusp there.
Like he's right on the cusp. So he's probably got another good
29. He'll be 30 when the season
5 years
starts.
Of ball. So we'll take that, man. I mean, he's got to get through year one. There's no question about that. He's got to get the year into and past year one. But boy, I'm here for the excitement, and I'm excited for what this team's gonna bring. One thing I got to try to find a clip that I want your thoughts on. But as we go, I'm actually excited for these Bills. There's several topics that we're gonna be hitting on tonight. One that I mean, I don't know if what you're gonna be doing with the panel. Are you able to discuss those things now or not?
Not yet, but that will certainly be something. But we'll get into the overall idea surrounding what you're getting at some point because I want to talk about that for sure.
For sure. I got to look something up and then I'm going to try to play. So go ahead. And if you had a topic to hit.
Well, just another thing I want to add too about that defense that makes me optimistic is you're also getting some stuff that the Bills have not had. You're getting in Deion Walker, just a massive human being, like everybody's talking about. You're getting a guy that is just a mammoth. I mean, you saw that. I'm sure you've seen the footage by now of him out in the rookie minicamp. He is twice the size of anybody else out there. He's huge. The Bills haven't had that. Maxwell Hairston, the fastest guy coming out of the combine. The Bills haven't had that speed. And the one thing that stood out to me the most out of these clips coming out of rookie minicamp is that speed is translating on the tape when you're watching him. His hip movement, his transition from breaking out of
his, he's very fluid.
He's as quick as his 40 times suggests. And you see that when you're watching him. The Bills don't have that. And then going down to TJ Sanders coming out of college, an incredible rating in terms of getting after the quarterback, which is what the Bills have been trying to do for the longest time here. I think you're getting elements out of these guys that the Bills do not currently have, in particular Maxwell Hairston and Deion Walker. And I think that just adds one more wrinkle to a Bills defense that has been needing several different wrinkles, I think, in order for them to get to what they've been trying to get to for the last couple of years here.
I'm with you, man. The excitement is there for me. I see it. I envision it. I know there's going to be some casualties. It's going to be tough. It is absolutely going to be tough. Now there was a clip that's out there regarding Sean McDermott, and I wanted your thoughts on this clip, Mr. Z-Bot. And I think Sean was sitting with Sal Capaccio and Matt Bove or Bove. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Bove. All right. You think he was a Frenchman, but he's not, I'm sure. First of all, Sal looks like a tiny little man in that chair. Number one. But let me open my screen here and share my screen and play this audio. It's about a minute and a half, but I think it's something worth having a conversation about. And because a lot of it stems on, I think a lot of us have an appreciation for McDermott, and I'm excited to see what your thoughts are on his thoughts and what was brought up. So here's Sean McDermott sitting with Sal Capaccio and I think Matt Bove. And let's see if we can play this audio and get going here. Let me know if you can hear it, Bot.
Through the tailgate.
Got it.
And just getting a feel for the crowd, getting a feel for the vibe. And I just think that those people are real out there, right? They're real and their passion is real. I was at a ball field yesterday, in fact, and leaving the game, and I usually sit in the outfield, and a gentleman came up to me, and he was sitting in the outfield about 30 yards away, and he came over before about last couple outs of the game, and he said, "Hey," he introduced himself, and we're walking away, and he says, "Hey, I appreciate what you've done, what you guys have done with the team," and he said, "I got to tell you, I was losing hope. I was kind of losing my flavor for the Bills, this and that, before you guys got there," and I certainly thanked him for that, showed my appreciation. And he said, "Hey," he said, "I just get this feeling that that over the years, the Bills have been okay being number 2.
Now, before I continue, what a sly way to get coach going. "Hey, man, appreciate you. Love what you do for the squad." Coach is like, "Yeah, man, I got another one." And then this was like a calculated, well-positioned question to get a reaction from coach with him saying, "I get this feeling that we're..."
What was the question?
Okay, well, here's what he said. It wasn't a question. It was a statement. So here's this part.
The Bills have been okay being number 2. And I was like, over
Hold
the
on.
years,
Here
the
we go.
Bills have been okay being number 2. And I was like, you don't know me, and you don't know this.
Someone
team.
said that to you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that is the furthest thing from who we are. The furthest thing from who we are.
Thanks for
And
sharing that
so-
story. That's
Yeah, it didn't end up the way you expected it to.
No, it did not.
I was
It
like,
did
wow.
not.
But from time to time, that's you
Right.
know, and so, but you go back to the night of the Super Bowl in my mind that I can see it, right, and what that's going to look like, and like I want to be able to give that to that person that came in and said, "Hey, here you go.
yeah.
You're
Oh,
no
yeah.
longer number 2. You're number 1."
All right. So what are your thoughts on that? On how McDermott handled that question, his response to it, and does it give you a better perspective or a view of McDermott? Because some folks have said he's changed over the years. He's a much more personable. He allows you to get to know him a lot more. But does that change your opinion? And this goes to the chat. Does it change your opinion of head coach Sean McDermott? Or, man, same old thing, man. He it seems as though he is okay with being number 2. And to the fans, I guess point is not good enough, big guy. You've got to be better. So what are your takeaways on that? I'm curious to get your thought, you specifically.
Well, my opinion on McDermott doesn't change at all. Everybody knows how I feel about Coach McDermott. I love Coach McDermott. I think he's great, and I have the utmost respect for him, and it's moments like that as to why I do. It almost felt like he was getting choked up a little bit there talking about that situation. It's one reason why I like him. He cares a lot. He's very, very invested. So to say that to him is, in my opinion, asinine. I can't imagine if I was sitting down with Coach McDermott and having a chat with him, the one thing I'd say would be, hey, man, I got a feeling you guys are okay with being number 2. It'd be the last thing I would mention to him. There's one thing between the Bills.
That's bold. That's bold.
I wonder if the guy meant something different. I wonder if he meant like it's felt like the Bills were always okay with being number 2 and now it's different. I don't know if that's what he meant, but based on kind of how McDermott phrased it, it seemed like he was talking about now, that he was talking about the Bills being okay with being number 2 now. The Bills have been number 2 for a while, and I think that that's why people think that they're content with being number 2. But the idea that they want to be that or satisfied being with that is absolutely insane to me. I go to Josh Allen post-game interview every time after he loses to the Chiefs. The guy looks like he just lost his whole the guy looks like he just witnessed the most tragic thing that's ever happened to him every time. He's sitting there like a pale ghost who just doesn't even know what to do with himself when he's sitting at the podium. The guy cares. You look at Sean McDermott. Everything the guy does feels like it is just all invested in on this team, and he carries himself in that way in every moment, including that moment right there. They've been number 2, but to say that they've been satisfied with being it is crazy to me. The amount of things that they've tried to do to overcome that. Now, granted, it hasn't worked, but they have really tried so many different things over the years to try and overcome that. They did it again this past year here. I mean, they just added Joey Bosa, like we mentioned, and then put their entire draft stock basically into the defensive side of the ball because, as Brandon Beane said, we look back last year and the last couple of years, and it really has been the defensive side of things that has costed us in the biggest moment. So in looking at it, to think that they're satisfied with that is crazy. If anything, it looks like it's eating them alive every time it winds up coming to a conclusion. And how could it not? How could you genuinely feel that the guys in charge of doing what we all root for, how could you feel like they walk off the field in heartbreaking fashion as we witness the heartbreak occur amongst the fan base? How could they just be like, get him next year? I've never bought into that. Now, granted, there's some guys who probably do that throughout the league. We know not everybody's bought in. But the guys that are, the primary suspects, GM, head coach, quarterback, of course, the main guys, the main role players, they're as invested as anybody is in professional sports. And I just don't buy this idea that the Bills are satisfied with being number 2. If anything, I feel like they're probably as disgruntled about it as we are. And if you're looking across sports, is there anybody who wants to get it done more than Buffalo? I think there's an argument. There's seldom arguments against the fact that they are the team trying to do exactly what everybody wants them to do. Just because they haven't done it doesn't mean they're satisfied with not doing it.
And you're right. And nobody's satisfied with not getting the job done. But I understand truly what that guy was trying to say. I like this team, coach. And I'm paraphrasing. I'm trying to like read between the lines.
Mhm.
I like this team, coach. I love what you've been able to do with this. You've given the city hope and this, that, and the third. But it's always the same freaking results. And I feel like ain't nothing gonna change. Now, was that statement for coach or is that for Pagula? Right? Is that for Brandon Beane? Because those are the guys that, you know what I mean, make these executive decisions. So I get the feeling, coach, that we're okay with being in at number 2. So that, to me, I'm taking that as a slap in the face. That's number 1. No, I don't want to be number 2. I'm trying to get ahead of it. And this guy's probably like, yeah, but the results are the same every freaking year, man. So like, I guess you're okay with it. Are you? Because what are you doing any different? And I think that's a lot of fans have every right to ask, what are you guys doing any different? And if the response is give us time, then the rebuttal will be, how much time do you need? How much time do you want? We've already given you 8. We want another 8 more years of this, bro. Something's got to give. So this is where a question like that's got to stir you inside, right? And I don't think McDermott needs that. But when he got it raw from not a reporter and just a random somebody, bro, that's gotta hit you, rub you a little differently. Reporters are meant to do that. Reporters are meant to stir something up. But when you get a regular Joe saying, man, and in such a respectful way, I get it that you just want to stay in number 2, bro. That's gotta stir.
Dude, that's such a crazy thing to say.
It is, and I like it's bold, very bold.
I think it's dumb. I don't think it's bold. I think it's dumb.
Why?
Because to think that they're satisfied with that is just insane to me. How could you think that they're just fine with it?
But I don't. Go ahead.
Maybe you're not satisfied with how they've approached trying to not be number 2, but regardless of what they've done in pursuit of trying to be number 1, to think that they're satisfied with being number 2 is just crazy to me. How could you genuinely think that they're fine with that? I just think that that's a crazy thing to think.
I don't think it's a matter of him thinking that that's what McDermott is thinking. It's, bro, we're all watching this shit and we keep coming in number 2 and nothing's changed. So are you okay with it? That's a bull thing. Of course he knows he's not okay with it. So now give me something, Bean. Give me something, McDermott, that's gonna like give me more hope to like, okay, we're getting over the hump. And McDermott's response was like, yo, if you don't know me, and it's true, you don't know how I'm feeling. But the results are the results. So it's going to bring out people to question. And I think more of that question was supposed to maybe stir something up or maybe get a reaction. Who knows what it was going to be? But it's certainly the fact that McDermott shared that, bro, it's sitting with him differently than if a Matt Beauvais asked him that question or Sal or Mookie asked him that question. Nah, this came from someone that's been watching the game or watching their team for years. So I think that stirs something up with McDermott, and maybe that very conversation is what that little thing that we need to get over the hump. Maybe that's what it gets, because it's like, I'm not trying to be number 2, and that's what's probably sticking in this crawl space. So I like it. I don't think it's a dumb statement, question, what you want to call it. I think it was meant to stir something up, and I hope it did. Man, do I ever hope it did.
Well, I think there's a difference between it stirring something up in him and what he said. I don't think he said it to him to try to stir something up. I think he said it to him because that's how he genuinely feels. And if if that's what we're talking about here, then I just think it's a crazy thing to think, because I just don't understand how you could feel as though these guys are satisfied with the result. I mean, and here's the other thing, and I say this all the time, the last 7 or so years, who has done it other than Philadelphia? Who has done it? Who has been the team that has solved this magic Rubik's Cube that nobody else can solve but the Kansas City Chiefs? I mean, that's what it's been year in and year out. Yet the Bills are always considered to be the team, the poster child for not being able to figure anything out. San Francisco hasn't been able to figure it out. And in reality, Philadelphia had the best roster in the league, probably by a considerable margin last year. And yeah, they were able to get it done in a fashion nobody saw it coming. But that's the best team in the NFL roster-wise, and they showed it in that game. Nobody has had the magic potion or solution to get by the hump that is Kansas City for the most part. Yet it always seems to fall back on Buffalo. Everybody has been number 2 to the Kansas City Chiefs for the last handful of years, other than the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, Tom Brady. If we're throwing in Tom Brady there. He's really the only one who had continued success when Patrick Mahomes entered the league. I think that these guys every single night sit up and wonder and think about what they could have done differently in all of these scenarios. I feel like it eats them alive. So for someone to think that it doesn't, I don't know. I just think I think it's crazy personally.
I mean, listen, whether you want to call it crazy or not, it's out there now. So now the real question becomes,
well, by the way, that guy isn't alone in thinking that. I mean, there's a lot of people who think that. Oh, yeah.
Right. You're absolutely right. And I think that's what makes, or I mean, at least I'm assuming that is what's going to really, I don't want to say push us over the edge. I don't think that's what it is, but I think internally as a coach, that's going to sit with you for a bit. That's going to sit with you. I'm like, is this what this fan base really thinks that? And he even said at the end, did you hear what he said at the end?
He wants to show it, basically shove it in his face. Yeah.
He wants to shove it in his face. So that was the big part for me. So that affected him in a way more than if anybody behind a microphone like this would have asked him. Now it's like, yo, I want to win that thing and find Buddy and shove it in his face and show him like, here it is. And you know what? If that's what we need to see from Coach and he knows it and he feels it this year, I feel like this year's a little different. I think there's a little bit more pressure on McDermott and these coaches on this coaching staff because like we said earlier, going into year 8, right? Or is it going into year 9 or did they just complete
McDermott or Allen?
Going into year 8.
Allen's year 8,
so,
yep.
Yeah, that's crazy, bro. Like, yeah, they just completed year 8, so he's going to year 9. So
no, Allen's going into year 8.
And McDermott got here the year before that. So McDermott's going.
Yes.
So McDermott's been here a good chunk, man. And I think they said he's the
fourth longest tenured coach in the NFL. Yeah,
he's number 4, right?
Which is insane. When I saw that, I couldn't even believe it.
It's insane. It is pretty. Like time flies, bro.
Yeah, I know.
Flies. So yeah, man, we got to get done. And he knows it. He knows it. Time's ticking. Time is ticking. I don't care that you got your extension. Time is ticking. So we're all watching. Bean went all in on defense to get the job done. So, bro, you got to get it done. You got to get it done, baby. You got to get it done. It's imperative. And what better way to do 2 things? Wouldn't that be crazy if the Bills can not only win a championship in Buffalo in the old stadium, right? Get the banner up from the old stadium, and then follow that up with a back-to-back Super Bowl in a new stadium?
Dude, the home opener of the new stadium would be a banner-raising game. I mean, you can't even you couldn't Disney that movie, you know?
Wouldn't that be something?
It'd be insane.
Well,
now, you know, in one more thing, we were talking about this when Gabe Davis got released with $20 million in dead money by the Jacksonville Jaguars this past week. And it's just one more thing to me where I'm sitting here and I'm wondering, like, what more are they supposed to do? Because we were talking off camera and we had said, like, has any GM other than Howie Roseman had a better 13 months than Brandon Beane? I mean, we're looking back on it. You get rid of Diggs. Boom. He's gone. He's a Patriot now. You get rid of Gabe Davis. They take a $20 million dead cap hit to get him off the roster. And at that time, a year ago, right around this time a year ago, many people were saying, what are they going to do offensively? Then they go in, maybe have the best offensive year in franchise history. Josh Allen wins the MVP. You know, then on top of that, Brandon Beane, he gets Joey Bosa in here. He has an incredible draft, in my opinion, this past draft here. And he's looking back at all of the guys he has let go, maybe earlier than anybody anticipated. Diggs, Gabe Davis, obviously letting Tre'Davious White go prior to bringing him back here, letting Tremaine Edmonds go, Micah Hyde, Jordan Poyer. And you had said it. And when you said it, I thought it was funny you had said it because it was exactly what I was thinking. Who has left the Bills? Who has been a guy Brandon Beane has moved off of that has gone on to have a better career leaving Buffalo? And the answer is, I don't think anybody. So with that point in mind, I don't know, other than maybe capitalizing on a few more draft picks, which, as we know, it is an utter crapshoot. Based on the moves Brandon Beane has made, I think that they have done an exceptional job and they've come up short by a razor thin margin. And unfortunately, that's all that matters. And that's why we look at or at least a lot of people look at the team and look at it as a failure under Josh Allen, when in my opinion, it has been nothing but an incredible success. And it's unfortunate that the end of these seasons have not culminated into the ultimate prize. But if we're looking at the majority, or if we're looking at the totality of the time in which Brandon Beane and Sean McDermott have been here, it has been nothing but an incredible success. And there's no other way to put it, in my opinion. It's
actually incredible. I mean, the Poona Ford might be the only one that's had success outside after leaving the Bills. Wyatt Teller never really got a chance with us, right? We moved on from him way before we could even have an opportunity to know what he was really truly about. But for the most part, other than Poona Ford, Tim Settle wasn't. I mean, I didn't really like Tim Settle for us too. I thought he was going to be great, but it didn't turn out well for us. This is a great system. Offensively, it's a great system, and defensively, it's a great system. And you got a quarterback that can just make life easy for you, and you can make life look. It's just great. So, you also
one more thing to mention.
Yeah.
You also sign, other than James Cook, you sign every single player due for an extension this past offseason for less than market value. Every single one of them. Every one of them. I just think Brandon Beane's had an incredible 13 months here. And so when I'm factoring in statements like, oh, you guys are satisfied with being number 2, I think other than Howie Roseman, Brandon Beane's probably done the best job at the general manager position the last year. And in totality, I know he gets criticized a lot, but this team has been one of the winningest franchises in sports since they've taken over. So it's unfortunate that the seasons have ended the way that they have, but the Bills have been extraordinary under this regime.
Well, speaking of this regime, if you were an assistant under Brandon Beane and there's discussion around the building and we're trying to build this team, we're trying to build this roster, we're trying to put the best players available on this team to really push for something, and the name Gabe Davis comes up, would you invite a Gabe Davis reunion?
Of course I would.
Really?
Why wouldn't you?
Talk to me. Tell me why. Sell me on why I should bring back Gabe Davis and run it back with Gabe.
Well, Gabe Davis
the chat. Do you feel the same? How do you feel about a Gabe Davis reunion? Bob, what's your thoughts?
I think as it stands right now, Gabe Davis still has a top 5 all-time NFL history playoff performance against the Chiefs in the 13-second game. He was a reliable target for Josh Allen during his time in Buffalo. He was a respectable number 2 under Stephon Diggs during that time. And I look at the Bills' current wide receiver room, and you can't tell me the Bills wouldn't benefit from Gabe Davis. And I know a lot of people last year wanted to retain him. But look at how this ends up panning out, and how could you argue against bringing him back? You didn't have to pay him the money Jacksonville did. They just took a $20 million dead cap hit to get rid of him. Now you can bring him back a year later after not having to pay him for probably pennies on the dollar. And we know that he's already a contributing factor when Josh Allen's throwing him the football. So now I get him a year removed from not paying him what he was asking for heading into free agency. I get him back on the roster a year removed from that, back with Josh Allen for exceptionally less money than what I would have had to have paid him to keep him in Buffalo for an additional year that he spent outside of Buffalo. So it would be the equivalent, Rico, of them re-signing him a couple of years ago or this time last year. Think about it like this. It would pretty much be the equivalent of McDermott paying him last year going into the season, him getting hurt week 1, and then him coming back in 2025, except you're paying him an insane amount less than what you would have had to have paid him to keep him. That's kind of just how I see it. I don't know how the Bills do not benefit from Gabe Davis being on the roster. We talk about it all the time. The wide receiver room, it is one of the most mediocre in the league, and Josh Allen elevates all of these guys. We already know that Gabe Davis is a contributing factor when Josh Allen throws him the football. I just don't know how it wouldn't be beneficial to the Bills offense to bring him back. I would absolutely sign up for that.
Do you know why I love doing the show with you, my friend?
Because we disagree, I'm assuming.
Don't you love that?
Yes,
I would hate it if we agreed on everything.
I would too. I would too. Apparently,
absolutely.
You're on the side of the chat here, by the way.
Am I on the side of the chat? Is the chat
out on Gabe Davis? Yeah,
they want nothing to do with him, huh? Well, I'm with the chat. I'm with the chat.
Tell me why.
Yo, W's in the chat. W's in the chat. All the young kids talking about W's in the chat. Well, listen, what's Daisha saying?
I meant to
Entire
click
chat against
this.
Z-Bot.
I meant, yeah. I know.
Z-Bot's
I'm
the
actually
one
kind of
guy-
stunned by this. I would have figured there would have been a little bit more open
love for him?
armness. Yeah, for
I don't feel like you. The thing is, I don't feel like you sold it enough for us. Like,
Well, I don't know what do you need to be sold?
why it would be a good return for him to come back to Buffalo.
Sell me on why it wouldn't then. Because to me, I don't really need to be sold on why it would be. I think bringing in just about any, like we just brought in, when we're looking at, we just went through a whole week of Brandon Beane not drafting a receiver with his top picks, and there was a conniption fit about it all over the place on both sides of the fence all week long, right? And then all of a sudden, that whole thing goes down. The Bills sign Elijah Moore, and everybody's all of a sudden saying, I think Elijah Moore is going to have 1,000 yards this year. It's like when the Bills signed Curtis Samuel last year, and he came on towards the end of it. But now all of a sudden, we're looking at Elijah Moore. Love you, honey. Good night. We're looking at Elijah Moore. She's half asleep already, Caroline. She's stumbling out of the room. My whole point here is the way the Bills offensive, the way the Bills wide receiver locker room is currently structured. You don't have to sell me much on anything when it comes to adding what I know would be a contributing factor to Josh Allen's passing game. That's where I stand. That's why I'm kind of shocked everybody's out on this, because I just don't see how it harms Buffalo in any degree.
Well, I'll tell you. I mean, you still didn't sell me enough. You got to sell me.
But once again, I need you to sell me on why it wouldn't be a good idea.
I will. I wanted to give you more opportunity to try to sell me, to sway me. And I'm on the other side of the teeter-totter. And I was hoping that you're going to put a little bit more weight on the teeter-totter to slide me towards you. But
okay.
Man, my weight is planted.
Okay.
Planted. You didn't put enough heaviness on that. So let me give you number one. He's inconsistent. Like, if I'm going to bring somebody to Buffalo, bring somebody, I want someone that gives me a level of consistency. That way we can actually count on this individual, right? So right now we're already working on guys that, okay, we're not sure about. We're going to try to build something. We know what we got in this guy. There's some games that he gives you 13 seconds, and then there's games where he gives you 0 receptions for like 5 games. And you're like, where were you? Where were you? What were you going? Now, I don't want to hear, yeah, but he wouldn't be coming in as a number 1 receiver, number 2 receiver. Yeah, but he'd be coming in as a 3, 4, 5. And then if you're a 4, 5, 6, you got to give me special teams. What are you going to give me on special teams? You're not Mac Hollins. You don't do any of that stuff. So that's number 1, right? Number 2, it's already crowded. It's already crowded already.
It is?
I personally believe it is crowded. If you look at the numbers, give me, if you don't look at the name, just look at the numbers. And I tell you this, right? Josh Palmer ain't going nowhere. He's not going to be unseated by Gabe Davis. I just don't believe it. It's not going to happen, right? Keon Coleman's going into his 2nd year. You ain't going to unseat Keon Coleman. This boy is planted to have a big 2nd year jump from last year. And he was called up by the GM. Khalil Shakir just got paid. He's a slot receiver. Gabe Davis ain't going to do anything with that. Receiver number 4, Curtis Samuel. He's an all-over guy. You can do whatever you want. He gives you speed, something that Gabe Davis doesn't give you. And then you got Elijah Moore, that's a separator. We need a separator. Gabe Davis is not no separator. We know that. All right, so that's not what it's already crowded already. And then you have Chanel that gives you special teams. Hold
on, your crowded wide receiver room is all based on hypotheticals. The only name you just mentioned that is a reliable target for Josh Allen is Khalil Shakir. That is it. As it stands right now, that is it. That's a fact. Out of everybody you just mentioned, everything is based on a hypothetical other than Khalil Shakir. Everything.
Okay, I'll take every one of those guys over Gabe Davis because they present to me something more than what Gabe Davis is going to give me. What is Gabe Davis going to give me? Is he going to stretch the field for me? No, he's not.
I could pull up 5 highlights right now of Gabe Davis stretching the field for you.
And
with Josh Allen.
So what inconsistent would bring me to my first point. He's inconsistent. I want a little bit more consistency.
But to that point, then other than Khalil Shakir, who is consistent on the Bills roster right now?
Josh Palmer. You just don't know about it.
How do we know that? How do we know that?
You don't know about it. And
nobody does.
What tells me that there is the fact that they brought him to the team and they paid him what they paid him. Because if they really wanted Gabe Davis, bruh, they would have said, Gabe, I ain't going to let you go nowhere. You're staying right here in Buffalo.
No, see, that's where it's different. This is a whole different circumstance. They didn't want to pay him what he wanted to be paid. And I totally understood that. That's why we were fine with it. This is a whole different circumstance. Now they're paying him what would be probably a quarter of what they would have had to have paid him a year ago this time this year.
I still think it's too crowded, and I'm going to stick to my point. I think it's too crowded because of the skill set that these guys on the team right now have. I think there's too crowded for them, my brother. There's nowhere for him to maneuver. And if he does come back to the squad, you're now a receiver 4, 5, 6.
You really think that?
Who's he going to play over?
I don't know. Nobody knows right now.
You really think that? Okay, so who do you think he's going to play over?
Once again, I don't know. Other than Khalil Shakir right now, I don't know what anyone else is going to be bringing to the table this year. I have no clue. So with that in mind, bringing a guy and I know who can contribute with Josh Allen to at least compete, if not for anything else, why wouldn't I?
Fighting. Well, listen, although I love what Gabe has done for Buffalo, his time is past and is gone. If they bring Gabe Davis back, I'd be disappointed in what these guys are trying to do. I really would, because we're trying to get to a level of separation and consistency for Josh Allen. We want to keep that up, right? We knew there was at least consistency coming from Mac Hollins. As much as I don't want to even mention Mac Hollins because his numbers weren't the greatest, but he was consistent. He was consistent as ever. Shakir, consistent. And if not for the injury, you would have saw a lot more from Coleman.
See, once again, we are basing everything on a hypothetical, but Khalil Shakir.
Here's what's not a hypothetical. You're coming out. You got a guy that went to the Jacksonville Jaguars, was supposed to be the biggest guy out there, or was a big name guy, and they dropped him after 1 year because he was inconsistent and he was an injury prone guy. It's not like we did. The proof is in the pudding. They would rather trust Travis Hunter that plays both ways and say, yeah, Gabe, you got to go and eat $20 million for that guy. Bro,
that's also an entirely new regime in Jacksonville that they are just taking dead money on because they're revamping the whole thing.
Fair point. But usually a new regime this late in free agency is done. Draft is done.
Okay, so let me just say this.
What's that?
Let me just tell you this. Okay.
Go ahead.
Because once again, I'm only basing this off of what I already know. Other than Khalil Shakir, I don't know. I loved what I saw out of Curtis Samuel at the end of the year. So maybe we can base it on that. But we also know, you mentioned that, injury prone, Curtis Samuel was hurt throughout the year last year. We didn't really get to see what he brought to the table towards the end. Last year, Rico, Khalil Shakir led the team in receiving yards with 821.
Yes,
do you know who was second?
It was someone that...
Exactly. It's basically the best way to put it.
Can't remember. Anyways, go on.
It was Keon Coleman missing multiple games with 556 yards. That was your second receiver. Your leading was with 821. Gabe Davis's last 2 years in Buffalo, 836 yards, 7 touchdowns, 746 yards, 7 touchdowns. Both of those years would have been good for either the number 1 receiver on the Bills roster or the number 2. And it also would have been more touchdowns than any receiver other than Coleman and Khalil Shakir. No one else had more than 7 other than those 2 guys.
I'm not going to let you do that. Nice try. Do you know who was garnering all that attention? Oh, yeah, his name, Stephon Diggs. I don't want to hear it. You don't have Stephon Diggs on this squad. So that... Hold on.
I misspoke, by the way, Rico. There wasn't a single receiver on the Bills roster last year that had more than 5 touchdowns overall receiving. Mac Hollins led with 5. Gabe Davis had 7 in back-to-back years, his final 2 years in Buffalo.
How many touchdowns did Gabe Davis have with Jacksonville when there wasn't a Stephon Diggs?
We can't compare that. How bad was Jacksonville last year? I mean, that team was a dumpster fire last year.
Trevor Lawrence. You had Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence is overrated personally, in my opinion, but it's not like Trevor Lawrence is considered a bum league-wide. They brought him over there because they thought it's going to open things up for Trevor Lawrence, and Gabe Davis was not it. He wasn't it. He wasn't it in Buffalo near the end of his career where they would have brought him back, and he was trying to campaign to come back. I know it was like, we don't want to pay him that money. Bro, if they wanted him, they would have kept him. And they said, but
this is a whole different situation. They didn't want to keep him for that money. They didn't want that type of production for that type of money. But why wouldn't you bring in that type of production for the money you'd owe him now? It would be next to nothing compared to what they had to pay him last year.
What's he going to bring to the table this year?
Once again, I just mentioned to you 2 years in a row, his last 2 years in Buffalo, where he would have been either the leading receiver yard-wise or the second leading receiver, and he would have been the leading touchdown catcher in both years, or last year. He would have been the leading receiver yards-wise, and he would have had the most touchdowns out of any receiver on the entire team if he just had one season like he had the season prior.
So that was 3 years ago, right? You know how
It was
this league
2
works?
years ago.
You know how this league works? This league works like this. What have you done for me lately? What the hell did Gabe Davis do for us to hype him up to bring him back? Because it's coming back to Josh?
It's not a matter of that. It's a matter of how can we not consider bringing a guy who we think could contribute to this offensive
Interesting
system right now.
So you're in on this. Like, you wouldn't be mad if they brought him. You would be like, yo, more power to it. I think he's gonna be great with this.
Absolutely. I'd be fine with it. More than fine with it.
We normally keep 6 receivers, typically. So you bring back Gabe Davis. So Josh Palmer, Keon Coleman, Khalil Shakir, Gabe Davis, because you want him back. There's 4. Curtis Samuel, we got to keep him because they're not gonna just lose money just like that. There's your 5, and then 6. Chanel, Caden Prather. Did I mention Elijah Moore? Oh yeah, by the way, we got Elijah Moore. So is Elijah Moore out?
Once again, if you brought in Gabe Davis and you brought him in and it wasn't what you wanted it to be, I feel like you could
Why even bother?
Why not? It's not like the Bills currently have the greatest show on turf. So I just think that I don't see where the harm comes from, I guess.
Okay. Hey, listen, I like that you're standing on your business. I like it. Stand on business.
Because I just don't see the fault in it, really. That's all. I'm not saying it would be the biggest solution. I really just don't think it would be a problem, personally.
I just think that we got the best of Gabe Davis. We got the best of Gabe Davis. And in my opinion, and not that he's a bum, not saying that at all. I think we got the best of Gabe Davis and we moved on from Gabe. And like we were just talking about, anybody that's gone outside of Buffalo, once they left Buffalo, they just became a whatever, right? And they didn't even give this brother a chance to kind of re-up the second year. New regime or not. Sometimes a new regime is like, yo, I don't quite know too much just yet, so let me just kind of run this group because I have leeway. I have a little bit of leash because I'm a new GM on the squad, so they're going to let me try to figure my ways out. But they're like, yo, we watched the film. We figured out how much money you're getting paid. Now we ain't going to take that. To take a $20 million, eat that for him? At least with Diggs, you're like, yo, I'm eating $31 million. That's a lot of money, but like, I know it's just not working out. Diggs,
he was also an off the field problem too.
$20 million though? I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. But listen, Brandon B might bring him back. He's in a festive mood. You got Dane Jackson. He's brought back Phillips before. He brought back Micah Hyde. He brought back Jordan Poyer. He brought back who am I missing? Like
Trey White.
I mean, like, listen. He bringing everybody back. He bringing the whole crew back. So maybe Gabe Davis does return. I just don't see, okay, so now he returns. Like, okay, so like, what you going to do for me? We already got the big body, younger in Keon Coleman. So like, that's a wash for me. Josh Palmer, better route runner, faster, all that. Okay, that's a wash. Khalil Shakir in the slot. And now you're receiver 4, receiver 5. I mean, I guess if you want that, I'm good. I'll take Elijah Moore and I'll take Curtis Samuel and I'll take Caden Prather over that. And I don't even know what Caden Prather is going to give me, but I know what Gabe Davis does give me. Doesn't do it for me. Doesn't move the needle for me. But
he gives you more than anybody else gave you last year, other than Khalil Shakir. That's all we know.
Hey, watch out. I mean, what did he have with the Jags? 300 yards.
I can't compare it, man. I can't compare it. He was hurt and he was playing for a god awful team.
All right. I mean, I love how you stand on that.
People are hating this, by the way, in the chat. I mean, Podcast Junkie said, see ya. He was hating this. He said, I'm out. I mean, he can't even take the idea of Gabe Davis becoming a Buffalo Bill. He's out.
Is he? Is he a Bills fan? Is he? I mean,
I don't know.
He's gonna go check another podcast. He
hated the topic because it was brought up in here that anybody getting sick of this. Somebody else left. I don't know. I thought it was a pretty decent conversation, but apologies. I'm sorry, man. Shit.
Well, you know what I say? Kick rocks.
I hate that.
That's what I say. Kick rocks. They come back. They come back later on. It's like ain't stressing it. But I will say this though. There was a stat that was dropped earlier. It was anytime that Josh Allen did target Gabe Davis, the turnover rose. It rose tremendously. So I don't know. He might say, you know what? I kind of like my separators a lot more than what I'm going to be doing with Gabe Davis.
But let's also talk about what the Bills offense was when Gabe Davis was here, right? They were doing a lot of things that were uncharacteristic to what they wanted to do. And I don't think it was because of Gabe Davis, right? A lot of it had to do with we got to get Stephon Diggs the ball. They were airing it out in a way that they did not do last year. They ran the ball way better. The offensive line has also gotten exceptionally better as well throughout that time. I think if you bring Gabe Davis in, it's now a different situation. You no longer paid him near market money, Rico, and drafted him. Now you feel like you're obligated to him. Now I feel like if you bring him in, it's, hey, you're doing what we say you're doing, and this is how it's going to go type thing. That's why I think it could be different. So to that point of people saying, the interceptions when targeted, I think it's a different offense now. That's why I think that no matter who you have in there,
quarterback too.
Yeah, you're getting a guy. Well, yeah, of course. And you're getting a guy that I think is just proven that when on the team, he does, produce. Maybe it's not what everybody would hope it would be if you're talking about top end wide receiver production. But I keep seeing in the chat, the main argument is the inconsistency. And I understand that was true. Gabe Davis wasn't a consistent, dominant receiver for Buffalo, but nobody is right now other than Khalil Shakir. That's my only point. There is no consistency from anybody right now.
And Khalil Shakir had a solid year. And I'm not going to by any means think that Khalil Shakir.
I love Khalil Shakir.
Yeah, we'll see what Khalil Shakir. We'll see what Khalil does. I'm looking forward to it. But the Gabe Davis is something. I know that we don't have the amount of money that we have. I think we have like $2 million right now, maybe a little bit more than 2 mil. Could they make room? I don't know.
There's so much, much riding on Dalton Kincaid and Keon Coleman taking another step. That's basically what the offensive passing game is surrounded on right now. Because, last year, back to the whole Bean thing, like when he had mentioned, we were the highest scoring offense in the league last year and whatever. It's all true. But they also had one of the best offensive lines in the league, and James Cook led the league in touchdowns. I think it's safe to say that this upcoming season, James Cook's not going to have 20 touchdowns again, and Josh Allen's not going to win back-to-back MVPs. If they do, then, hey, joke's on me, I guess. But to think that that's a consistent outcome. To think that you can rely on James Cook leading the league in touchdowns again, and then Josh Allen playing MVP level or MVP winning level football again, all while, scoring the most points that they really have ever scored in franchise history in a year. I think that they're going to be close to that, but they also did some uncharacteristic things last year as well. So I don't think it was all because of the passing game. The majority of the way that defense, or the way that offense was able to function so well last year was they were scoring a ton on the ground and they had an incredible offensive line play. That's why I'm optimistic about this offense, no matter who's in there. But I also feel like that they can't be hurt by adding somebody like Gabe, who has proven that when he's on the Bills offense, he does produce.
Here's what I'll give you about Gabe Davis, and I'm gonna jump on to the next one with you. He knows the quarterback. He knows the system. He knows what is expected of him. So he'd have a bit of a jump, if you will, if he were to return the team. I think that's the only edge he would have over these guys. Other than that, I think the skill set of what we have on the squad, I think doesn't need the services of Gabe Davis. But I will say this though, Richie mentioned this earlier. I don't know how you'd feel about this, but I mean, they're probably full anyway. I don't think they even need his ass in the first place. So, but I'm sure he'll find a home somewhere. But Gabe Davis goes to the Chiefs, and Bot's gonna crash out. Well,
dude, I don't care if the water boy went to the Chiefs. That would piss me off. I don't want to see anybody go to Kansas City. That's how I am.
There you have it. So we're talking about Gabe Davis, and we talked earlier about the competition that's going to take place. The one conversation I had, or topic of conversation that I was having with the chat in my last stream, was talking about Kincaid. And I know the whole him being underweight, or it looked like he was a little thin, and the conversations being had over the internet, and some folks were like, yo, but take a look at this picture. This picture looks like he's normal. But this one's kind of a little thin. He still kind of looks thin. I don't want to stay too long on this. Did you see that there was something odd with the weight, or if he looked like he was a little thinner than normal, or were you like, I'm not even sweating that. That was not a big deal. What were your thoughts on that whole debate for like the day or two?
Well, shout out to the Thigh Doc for really, really stoking the fire there. He got everybody going on a random midweek day. That was something else. I don't really look into it. I will say, though, he did have the double knee brace on. I mean, that photo was also from, 50 yards away. He doesn't look huge. No, I mean, he doesn't. So if there was an idea going into this offseason who's going to put on a bunch of weight, I haven't seen it. Then again, the season doesn't start for 4 months. I'm not going to look too much into a photo of Dalton Kincaid from 50 yards away on the sideline. I'm not going to look much into that and read into what I think is going to be the result of his season based on that photo. But Look, Dalton Kincaid, as I just mentioned a second ago, this offense is going to be very reliant on him and Keon Coleman being the guys. And, from what we were told about Dalton Kincaid going into him being drafted by Buffalo to what it is now, it hasn't been exactly that. I think if it does become that, well, then we're not even talking about an idea of bringing in a Gabe Davis. We wouldn't even have to talk about it because the Bills would have a homegrown guy that they are consistently relying on, putting up numbers and moving the ball down the field. All I know about Dalton Kincaid going into year 3 is that whether he's put on weight or whatever, this is a massive year for Dalton Kincaid. I just think it's a massive year. If we don't get considerable production from him, and he's got to stay healthy too. If we don't get a healthy, high contribution type season from Dalton Kincaid, we're going to be 3 years in and we're going to look at the first round draft pick spent on him, and we're going to have to question whether or not it's been worth it up to this point. I think people are already questioning that right now. And I don't know. It's awfully interesting to me because the idea of him getting better is very, very enticing. If he does end up taking that next step, then look out. Because you look at what the Bills did last year with him hurt, with Coleman hurt. I mean, it was pretty impressive. What does that look like? This is why I'm always open to adding guys like Gabe Davis or whoever, because what does that look like if you do have that one extra guy that is as reliable as Khalil Shakir and is putting up similar numbers and is just being Josh Allen's guy for the duration of the season? And now we're also factoring in another tight end being added to the roster. Deezy's bringing it up. Hawes, who we saw in minicamp here, apparently was looking real solid. Now, of course, we're a weekend in here. Who the hell knows? But it doesn't change the fact, regardless of who's on the roster, who isn't. Dalton Kincaid was a first-round draft pick for these Buffalo Bills that was supposed to be the future of the tight end position. And going into year 3, I think a lot is riding on how we're going to view moving forward with him based on what he does this season. I just think it's a massive, massive year for him. And I think what he contributes offensively this year it's really going to set the stage for how we not only perceive him or beyond that. I think it's going to set the stage for kind of how the Bills are going to be factoring in how much he weighs in to their offensive success in the future.
So you're telling me that Dalton Kincaid is on the hot seat?
See, this is hot. What do you mean by hot seat? Like,
you know exactly what I mean by hot seat.
Like,
when someone's on the hot seat, what does that mean?
That you're either putting up or you're gone? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I wouldn't call it gone because he got drafted in the first round, so we do have that 5th year for him. But this is the big year. He's on the hot seat for me. It may not be hot, but it's warm. It's warm. It's uncomfortably warm. It's like, did somebody turn the heat up on this chair? No. You know we turn the heat up on the chair because you're sitting me watching me. My hand is on the dial and I'm turning it up. Absolutely. He is absolutely on the freaking hot seat. We drafted you in the first round. We traded up for you to become Josh Allen's blanket, Josh Allen's go-to guy, especially when we brought you in. You had Diggs. Everybody was like, yo, Diggs, Dalton, you know what I'm saying? Davis, like, yo, this is going to be great for the squad, bro. It was promising. Second year, not so much. More drops. Obviously, you got injured and just couldn't, sustain things. It just was, it didn't look good. So going into year 3, especially because, and I had this argument with my man, James Kehoe, the mountain man. And he was getting on me for saying, yo, why are you guys expecting these young guys to come in and just produce immediately? Give these guys time to develop. Would you cut it out? He's like, I agree with you with a lot of things that you say. I don't agree with you on having so much expectation and a high expectation for Kincaid. And I let him go off and he was just, let me have it. And I said, cool. I said, now I got to tell you this, gone are the days where guys and I mentioned this and I'm mentioning it again. Gone are the days where you had to like do your collegiate time, come in and kind of learn behind the veteran guy, and then eventually we take over. It's not traditional like that anymore. Now it's like these guys are doing AAU football and do 7-on-7s, and they're developing year-round from high school, getting coached by former NFL guys who are now coaching high school, and they're coming with pro systems. Bro, the game is completely changed. So when we draft you with a first-round draft pick, bro, you best contribute. I need you to contribute. The only position that I can give you grace, allow you to have grace, is the quarterback position. Maybe, just maybe, the right tackle. We drafted another right tackle. I wouldn't even say right tackle. I think it's just a quarterback position. And I say all of this is that, bro, there is no time to let's wait till he develops. We need you now. We need you now, and we need you to help this quarterback out because we're trying to do something here. We're trying to win a damn championship. And right now, pressure's absolutely on Kincaid. And I need him to step up. Because I'll tell you right now, furthermore, maybe a hot take, Dawson Knox ain't going to sit here any longer and watch all this. I'm going to let him continue. Yo, he's going to be like, yo, if there's a window for me to jump in here and take over and try to steal into your snaps, I absolutely will. I already have the chemistry with Josh. Him and I are like this. You know what I mean? We do the whole finger pointing, all that. We have that. So now it's up to Kincaid to really hone in, step into it, especially when your GM called you out to say, yo, I need you to be available. I need you to put a little more weight on. I need you. Bro, you better come through because all eyes are on Kincaid and he better come through. I'm telling you right now. So yes, high expectation, hot seat, hot water, Kincaid for sure. I gotta have it. And I hope that you on the same page with me a little bit.
A little bit, yeah. I'm looking at it, right? And I see, I keep seeing, I feel like everybody keeps saying like the first year, his rookie year was like this greatest thing ever. No, Brock Bowers just had the greatest year ever at tight end as a rookie. Like that was a great year. Dalton Kincaid had a good year, his rookie year. He was 10th. He was 10th overall in receiving yards. But other than that, he was in the early 20s in terms of yards per game. He had 2 total touchdowns. It was a good year. But in terms of a first round draft pick, I don't know if it was, I keep seeing a lot of like, man, it was an incredible year. Like it was a good year. I don't think it was an incredible year. And then last year we have to he was hurt. And I think that of course weighs into how we perceive how the offense looks right now because they did well without him. Right. So it's really tough for me to box in Dalton Kincaid right now because he did have a good rookie year. And then last year he was hurt, but I'm also looking at what this means for the future, right? You're going into year 3 and you do look at what Brock Bowers did. And I know he's an anomaly. He's the exception, not the rule, but he did have an insane year. And then I'm looking at George Kittle, as old as he is, and he was incredible last year and just got a massive extension. You're now looking at the market for tight ends too, and it's now getting to $20 million a year. That's also how you have to look at this. And you mentioned Dawson Knox, right? And it's like when we look at it, the reason why I think this is such a big year for Dalton Kincaid is I feel like this is going to weigh heavily in on the decision, which comes around quicker than you think, right? It's going to weigh in on the decision because the following year he's going to be in his 4th year, right? And that's when everybody's looking for contract extensions. This year is going to be a massive, massive indicator as to whether or not he's going to be a guy that the Bills are going to be comfortable spending top of the market money on, or they're not. That's why I think it's such a big year. Because one, the Bills are going to be relying on him in the pass game based on what they currently have. And I know that like I said, they were successful without him last year, but I just keep feeling like there has to be more in order for the offense to sustain how many points they put on the board last year. And of course, a first round draft pick at that position should be contributing to that. But you're looking at the market right now, nearing $20 million. This year is going to be a massive swing on that pendulum for the Bills and Brandon Beane as to whether or not they view him as a guy that's trending towards making that money, or they view him as a guy where they're like, a Gabe Davis situation where you're like, we'd love to keep you, but I don't know if we're going to be able to spend that type of money. And these are things you have to factor in, right? Because he could be good, could be real solid, which he's been, but you're looking at it and you're like $20 million, other than maybe getting him to sign for less. And I know this is a few years down the road, but I just think that this year is going to be so pivotal in not only what we expect from him as fans, but ultimately what he's going to become for the Bills long-term. Because I think this is going to really weigh in on how they view the future of him in this offense. This is a big, big year for Dalton Kincaid.
This is absolutely big year. And I think this year is one that will allow Beane to, I'm going to pick up that 5th-year option because I've seen enough that I'd like to see more from you. But if he has a mediocre year or a good year, right, where we don't expect a good year from, I want him to have a great year. So if he has a good year where you're like, okay, it's good, but it didn't stand out for me, it makes Brandon Beane's job easier to say, 5th-year option, forget about that, finish your 4th year and call it a day. I don't want it to be that way. I think they want these guys to come up together. That's why this year is it's a big year. Generally, third-year players, they come in, and this is where the game slows down, and et cetera, et cetera. We know how that all plays out. So hopefully that's the light bulb turns on for my guy, and he comes in, and hopefully he stays healthy. If he stays healthy, this will be great for Buffalo. Walter comes in and says, "Did you guys watch the Bills Embedded?" Bean made an interesting comment.
Right back, by the way. I'll be right back.
Yeah, Bean made an interesting comment about. Sorry, hold on. Let me talking about how he looked to double dip because the talent was deep at DL, so that means lesser talent crop next year. I missed that. I didn't watch the Embedded. I had it queued up on my thing, but I never watched it. But him making that comment, I've seen people do that, right? Where they're like, yo, the quarterback class. I mean, if you go back to the 2013 draft class, like that wasn't a great one. We had like EJ Manuel, Geno Smith, and who was it? There was another quarterback that was like in the mix. And I couldn't recall who it was, but that draft class was not a good one. So sometimes guys know, like this year, this draft class for quarterback wasn't the greatest. Maybe there's one or two, maybe a steal in Jackson Dart. Maybe Jackson Dart's going to be that dude. But next year they say that's the one that's going to be this stuff. So certain teams didn't even bother targeting that quarterback position, maybe the Saints, because they feel like next year, this is where we're going to be. We're going to be in a better position to grab one of these top guys, et cetera, et cetera. So that being said, when it comes to these players with high expectations and what we anticipate from these guys, a lot of that is going to play a big part in Kincaid's position. Bro, this is a big year for him. Third year going in, this is a big year. By the way, when you walked away, we were talking about Embedded. If you saw the comment made by, did you watch the Embedded? I'm not sure if you did or not. You're muted.
The most recent one?
Yeah, most recent one.
Yeah, I saw. What comment you're referring to?
It was a matter of like when he made a comment about how deep the DL draft was this year, and it made it. That's why he double dipped, because he knew that the draft wasn't going to be as deep next year in that defense. Did that stand out for you? Did it make a difference for you at all?
Yeah, I think based on what I saw from being in that Embedded, he seemed real confident in his decision making. This past year or this past draft. That's the vibe I got. It just seemed like he was really satisfied with what they were able to walk away with. And it seemed like he got his guys. I mean, that's kind of what the vibe I got. It just really seemed like he was happy with how things fell. And when you go to the Maxwell Harrison situation, I thought it was so funny. He said, well, man, if you run a 4.2, we're not going to be able to get you. He damn near ran a 4.2 and they still got him. I just think
that's good.
That guy in particular, Harrison, it just feels like he was Brandon Beane's guy, based on what, how they took him with all the other guys available. The overall aura, though, the vibe from Brandon Beane just felt like, man, he felt like he nailed that draft. That was what I was kind of taking away from it. One more thing, by the way, on Dalton Kincaid, I want to mention too. I want to mention real quick on Dalton Kincaid.
Yeah.
It's not all entirely on him either as well. I have felt like for a first round draft pick, they have not.
I like where you're going with this. Go on.
Yeah, I just feel like they haven't incorporated him into the offense like you would a first round draft pick. That's how I've said it. And I know you could go to the stats and say, well, last year he was second in the team in targets, but the bulk of his targets don't seem like they're anything more than like an out route. You know what I mean? There never seems to be anything substantial curated around Dalton Kincaid making a massive impact on a play. And maybe that's just a generality, but I feel like when you watch a year and you just kind of base it off of what you saw looking back on it, it never felt, and this was the last 2 years, it never felt like Dalton Kincaid was ever a priority. That's just how it seemed. And I feel like his production is a factor within that. But it also goes to this is the other point too, when you're thinking about the value that they might have on these guys. Like, is the value, do they value that enough? But then again, you have to question, well, if you didn't value it, how do you spend a first round pick on it? So It's an interesting situation. You obviously valued that position enough to go first round. Then again, though, I'm looking at the way that they've incorporated them into the offense. And even though it's been good up until now, it doesn't feel like it's been first round talent. Let's make sure we get the most out of that talent type offensive structure. And that's what's kind of been the most puzzling thing about him in this offense to me up until now.
I appreciate that you mentioned that, because we can talk about, we've talked about it before in years past, where when James, like, we need to give the ball more to James Cook, right? I remember a lot of people saying, like, give the ball back. Like, we need to incorporate this person more. And why aren't we doing it? And what's going on? A lot. We can't sit here. And this is why I love this game so much, because everyone has their part to play in it, right? Starting from in the film room to positional coaches to the OC. If the OC is not drawing anything up for you, or the read is to do this and do that, and not really, this is a third to fourth option. And if Kincaid's a third to fourth option, that's a problem. So this is where our OC has to get him incorporated, man. Like, we got to. No, especially, I think we had such high expectations for Kincaid because Diggs and Davis were gone. So that means, holy crap, more attempts for Kincaid. This is going to be killer for him. And never really worked out that way. Obviously, the injuries didn't help, but it never really worked out that way. So I'm so excited that you mentioned that. They got to draw some stuff up for him, bro. So hopefully Brady going into a year number 2, which is going to be massive for him, he's got to keep it up, because there's a lot of pressure on him too, because you had an offense that put up 30 points a game, 8 straight games, and we're the leading scoring team, playoffs included, right? Obviously, a big factor in that is Josh Allen, but you now have pressure to continue that and more so evolve it and try to get all these other pieces involved, man. So there's going to be some expectations for Joe Brady as well to almost duplicate what he's been able to do. Now, can he do that? It's a whole different ballgame. We'll see how that shakes out.
And the odd thing is, I'm seeing the chat, and it feels like so many people agree. And you would go and look at the stats, and the targets would say otherwise. Like, he has been targeted basically more than anybody else, or just like he's been targeted enough to where you would think that he has been incorporated to a satisfactory amount. But when you're there's a difference between looking at the stat sheet and then watching the games. It just, when you're watching, it doesn't feel like he's ever a priority. And I feel like when you have a first round guy,
that's a fair point.
That should be visible, right? And it doesn't seem to be.
Fair play, because it doesn't seem like there was, like, I think last year we were always looking for, when's the Kincaid game gonna happen? Right. Everyone has the game, right? The Keon Coleman had 2 games where it was the Keon Coleman game, right? There were Shakir. This is the Shakir game. This was the Josh Allen game. This is the James Cook game. Bro, when are we going to get the Kincaid game, where it's like, that's the one that makes everybody remember? Remember that Kincaid game? Or we haven't had that. And I'm hoping this year we can get a couple Kincaid games. We absolutely need that.
You know what also doesn't help either is the last 2 years there have been 2 exceptional tight ends drafted that overshadow Dalton Kincaid and how you look at him. The same year Sam Laporta was drafted, nearly 1,000 yards and 10 receiving touchdowns. And then, of course, last year, Brock Bowers has the greatest year we've ever seen from the position in a rookie year. So that also doesn't help either. Once again, Dalton Kincaid up until now has been good. But from what we were hearing about him when he was drafted, we were expecting great. I think everybody expects great from a first-round player. But I was hearing a lot of hype surrounding him. And up until now, it's been good. But I just think that based on how that they've incorporated him into the offense, based on the emphasis surrounding getting him the ball, it hasn't been what I think a lot of us were hoping it would be when they drafted him in the first round a couple of years ago.
And this is why this is going to be a very interesting off season and going into the season. It's going to be fun to find out how this all layers in and shakes out. So we're talking about expectations. Obviously, Kincaid is going to be one that we have high expectations for, at least for me. I think we're there. Third year is going to be legit. Is there anybody else on this roster or someone you're paying attention to that you have high expectations for this individual?
Well, Keon Coleman's the easy answer here. I mean, I think it
really?
looked, because I think he was looking like he was coming along before he got hurt. I think that's an easy one just because, like we said, this offense seems to be heavily reliant on the idea that those 2 guys, Kincaid and Coleman, are going to be guys, right? And I think Coleman was starting to show flashes of looking like what we drafted him to be. We always knew that the ceiling there was going to take a while to reach, and it's unfortunate he got hurt. And I think that's why I'm looking at him heavily this upcoming year to see how he responds from that injury. And then if he does respond well, then what does that look like? How do they get him involved? What does he contribute? Is he that go up and get it, stretch the field type guy they were hoping he would be? Got my eye on him. And then, I think the eyes primarily are going to be on the defensive side of the ball pretty much in totality. I think that's where my eyes are. Is this draft class going to contribute instantaneously? If so, what does that look like? And then the guys that are supposed to be the centerpieces right now, do we see more out of Greg Rousseau? Do we see more out of Ed Oliver, right? My eyes are going to be focused in on that area of the field, the front line in particular, because that, of course, is what has been emphasized for the longest time on this defense that they have not been able to particularly nail down. Now you got multiple. You got three draft picks this past draft lining up on that front line. So what is it all going to look like? And do they get better as a result, right? Does Ed Oliver get better because of the contributions of the rookies? Do the rookies get better because of the contributions of the guys already out there? I think that the eyes are going to be on this defense. Because Rico, if this defense, and this is the nice thing about it, if we get the expected Josh Allen offense again this year, and at this point going into year 8, the expectation is one of the best offenses in the league. I think it's fair to have that expectation, and I think it's fair to assume that we'll see maybe not as good as last year, 30 points a game, but I think we'd be hard pressed to imagine the Bills are scoring less than 26 points a game, 25 points a game. It would be really hard to imagine that, especially with their schedule. So with that in mind, Rico, even if the Bills defense gets like 15% better, it might not seem like an insane amount, but you even go back to games like last year. The Chiefs never scored more than 30 all year. They scored more than 30 in the AFC Championship game. The Bills scored plus 40 against the Rams and lose. Those are 2 games you win right there if the Bills defense is just 10 to 15% better. If they can be that, that's why I'm super optimistic about the defense. You added enough to it to where I think a 10%, 15% bump in production isn't all that much to ask. And I think it's really all the difference in what the Bills' margin of error can be going into this year.
I didn't expect you to say Keon Coleman, but I'm not mad at it either. I don't know if I have high expectations for Keon Coleman, but I'm anticipating I'm anticipating him to have a year where there's high anticipation for him. Let's put it that way. I'm just looking forward to seeing what he does. I don't have any expectations.
You know what? And that's probably the better way to put it. I think that's kind of what I meant. It's not like I'm expecting him to go out there.
I know what you got. I got
Agreed.
you. I got
totally
you. Yeah,
agree
because
with
I'm like, because he's going into second year, so it's like, okay, I want to see what it looks like. Do I have high expectations? Not quite, but I'm looking forward to seeing what Keon Coleman does with it. But high expectations for me, Ed Oliver, bro. I don't know what it is, but I got high expectations for Ed Oliver, and I think it's because once he signed his deal, then he had the 9.5 sacks, and you're like, okay, bro, he gets it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he got paid, bro. We're getting that version of him, and that deal that we signed with this guy, he's gonna be legit. And then last year it was a good year, but just like a good year. So I'm like, and then now, like you just said, you just alluded to it. We put in 3 new guys on that defensive front, and 2 of them are in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
You can't tell me there's not some sort of pressure and on Ed Oliver. And I'm not even trying to make some stuff up and saying, oh, he's got to watch out. But I'm gonna tell you this: people don't just bring in 2 new linemen just like that. Yeah, but Jaquan Jones is gonna be heading out soon, so like that's why they brought in 2, because just to keep the rotation going. I was like, I get that. Bringing in 1 maybe because you just brought in Dwayne Carter the year before, so you bring in 2 guys today. I mean, Susie, this year. So I'm like, I'm looking at. I want high expectations from Ed Oliver because I know how good he can be, and you bring in you bring in Deion Walker, you bring in my man Sanders, bro. We're watching because if TJ Sanders comes in and is just killing it, and Walker starts eating into some space, and they're standing out. Not this year, but next year, there's going to be a decision to be made on that interior line to see how that all shakes out. I'm probably stretching it a little too much, but I really want to see something from my guy Ed Oliver this year. I really want to see it because he will probably most likely be truly playing that 3 tech. And then you have obviously TJ Sanders that can play a little bit of the nose or the 0 and the 1 and is a pass rushing guy too. I'd love to see how that all shakes out. So Ed Oliver is what I want. I have high expectations for Ed Oliver this year. That's number 1. Number 2, I'm gonna stay on the defensive side. And whether you agree with me or not, I think I'm gonna put this guy in the same category as Keon Coleman, and that's Cole Bishop.
Okay.
I want to see what Cole Bishop does. Right? We brought back DeMar Hamlin, but I don't think we brought back DeMar Hamlin to be a starter. I really don't. I think he's just there to be some depth, and his ass could be cut this year too. Right? You got Derek Forrest that joined the squad. Derek Forrest is going to be battling out with Cole, and Taylor Rapp is going to be taking over. So, like, I want to see what Cole Bishop does. Can he take over that role? Because apparently he was supposed to take the role, but then he got hurt, and then DeMar just never gave the role up. So this will be an interesting offseason to see how these boys play out. So Cole Bishop, there's a lot of these second-year players that got to show up. So Keon, Cole Bishop, love to see it. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And this defense I'm just pumped for this defense. So that's the way I look at it. Is there anybody in the chat right now that you're paying attention to a player that you're like, you know what? High expectations. I got high expectations for this player. Who is it that stands out to you? Let me know. Say it in the chat, and we can keep it rolling. I got Noah. Sheldon says, yo, Cole Bishop sucks. We could have gotten Kitchens or Bullock instead of him. I mean, listen, man.
Now, we can't make any definitive statement on Cole Bishop yet.
Crying out loud. 1 year in the depth position. Like, you know what I mean? You can give him a little grace. You can give him a little grace. You know what I mean? So, well, we'll see how that shakes out. I love some people that are like very definitive. Yo, he sucks. Get him out of here. Will be the same people that root for him the next time.
Randy's saying, how can you say that, Bot, when you just argue to bring in Davis? You're that optimistic, yet want to bring in Davis. Coleman worries me adapting to the physicality in the NFL. I'm optimistic because of Josh Allen, but I think that there's room for improvement. I think that there's room for improvement at the wide receiver position. I just do. Last year, they didn't have a 1,000-yard receiver. You did have mid-800s from Shakir, but then it falls off a cliff and you go down to the mid-500s with Keon Coleman, who missed several games last season. The optimism completely stems from 17 entirely. My optimism right now is stemming from my additional optimism, I should say, is stemming from the defense that I expect to be better in 2025. That's where I'm getting additional optimism from. I feel better about the defense right now than I did just a couple of weeks ago. That's where I'm gaining optimism from. But as I mentioned earlier, and I don't know if you were in here, Randy, my whole point on the offense and why I don't mind bringing in guys is because last year you reached the point offensively that you did because James Cook led the league in touchdowns. You had an incredible offensive line play, and I expect it to recur. But you also had Josh Allen win the MVP. All of those things factored in to them scoring 30 points per game and having one of the best offensive years in franchise history. I think it's a fool's errand to expect Allen to win the MVP again, for them to average 30 points again, and then for James Cook to lead the league in touchdowns again. That's why I'm never against adding additional bodies on the offensive side of the ball. But I'm always going to be optimistic about this team with Josh Allen. They have the 5th easiest schedule. They have one of the easiest divisions in all of football. They're basically penciled in to win the East every year until I'm proven otherwise. And they have the MVP at the quarterback position and unarguably top 3 at that position, and has been for some time. No reason to believe it's going to fall off a cliff. So there's no reason to not be optimistic, but there's all the reason in the world to continue to add to further your optimism, in my opinion. The Bills just did that defensively. That's why I'm gaining optimism going into this upcoming season.
As you should. I totally agree with you. And that's why this year is a big one, because like we're knocking on the door. I think there's expectations for us all. The Bills were knocking on the door. We were I don't even want to say one game away, potentially one series away, one possession away from going and
a couple of 2-point
conversions,
right?
Holy jumping!
You go back to that game, the Bills failed two 2-point conversions, and the Chiefs converted their one that they attempted. That right there could have been the difference.
Bro, I mean, let me tell you, that game, man, that game. I can't, bro. And that's why like the pressure is mounting on everybody in Buffalo. The pressure is mounting on everybody that like, we got to get over the hump. We got to get it done. And Josh is getting older. All the narratives that is going to be going out there. So it's going to be fun. So hopefully this new batch of players are coming in, and they're going to help us out and do what we need to do and get over the hump. That's what I'm looking at. Like, I think we're all anticipating that, and we'll see how that shakes out. Switching topics. I don't know if you want to hit something, but if you're good,
I'll go for it.
Switching topics. I need to get your opinion on this, right? So Shedeur Sanders getting drafted and going to the Cleveland Browns, blah blah blah. Bro, they're giving him a lot of pub right now. There's a lot of pub. And Dylan Gabriel, I feel bad for that guy, man.
Of course.
Like, how do you I'd get drafted ahead of the guy that was supposed to be drafted way ahead of me, and he's getting all the pub in practice and deservedly so. Like, what do you do? Is you can't do you're doomed. Like Cleveland, what are y'all doing, man?
Makes
Right?
no
Doesn't
sense.
that puzzle you?
Makes absolute that
Oh,
quarterback
my
room.
gosh.
That quarterback room is out of a comedy movie. It makes no sense what Cleveland just did. Not only do you have Kenny Pickett, you have Joe Flacco, you have the whole Deshaun Watson situation, by the way, looming over all of this. Then you take Dylan Gabriel in the third round just to turn around and draft Shadir Sanders, who had an historic drop in the draft. I'll make a 30 for 30 about it someday. You add him to that locker room too. On what planet did any of that make any sense? And now you're already getting the repercussions of it. Kevin Stefanski was asked during rookie minicamp, why did Dylan Gabriel take the snaps before Shadir Sanders when you guys were practicing? This is why people wonder why, as Shadir was falling, why people didn't step up to the plate and draft him. Well, that's it right there. That's why. Nobody wants what is looking to be a backup quarterback, or at least not going to be a starter until he proves it. Nobody wants the backup quarterback to be the primary topic of conversation when the coach takes the podium. Nobody wants that. And I get that for a variety of teams, but even more so for Cleveland. That's why it makes absolutely no sense at all. You would have already been getting questioned about Dylan Gabriel based on the fact that you have Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, or excuse me, it's not Kenny. Is it Kenny Pickett? It is Kenny Pickett.
Kenny Pickett. Yep.
Yeah, and Deshaun Watson. You're already going to have a slew of questions coming your way about the quarterback position, and now you just so happen to add the most famous 5th-round draft pick in the history of the entire league. Make it make sense to me. And you saw the look on the faces within that war room when Cleveland drafted him. I don't know what happened there. All I know is it makes absolutely no sense. I do not get it at all.
It's baffling to me, and it's gonna be a mess. So then you go in there. Is Flacco penciled in as your starter?
Well, this is where it gets confusing because right now you have 5 quarterbacks. Okay, you have 5. You never keep. You really only keep. You're going to keep 3 max, right? So I would start Flacco, but now you have a situation. I would, of course, I would. Out of that entire room, he's the only one that's proven to have success. He had 6. He brought Cleveland to the playoffs.
Would you have had the same energy if Shadir Sanders was drafted in the first round by Cleveland, or maybe second? Would you still say Flacco?
I don't even think we'd be having this conversation because they would have started him if they drafted him in the first round.
Why would it change now just because he got drafted in the 5th? Talent is talent.
I don't think Shadir Sanders was a first-round quarterback. I never did.
Or second round, regardless. On this roster right now.
On this roster right now, Joe Flacco brought this team to the playoffs, and based on the current situation, I would start Joe Flacco personally.
Interesting, because it goes Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Shadir, Gabriel.
Yeah, I think Kenny Pickett's going to be the casualty here. You're not going to. You're not going. Here's where it gets. I know, and this is why it's so insane. Okay,
dude.
So from a business perspective, Shadir Sanders is already leading the league in rookie jersey sales. You're not cutting him. You're not cutting him. And then you spend a 3rd-round draft pick on Dylan Gabriel. You're not cutting him during training camp. Okay. So now you get into the weeds here. You got Deshaun Watson. No one knows what to do there. Either way, they're going to have to eat an insane amount. It's just going to be crazy. It's going to be nuts. And then you get down to Pickett and Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco, out of this entire crew, is the only one that's proven that he can not only win football games, but also win in Cleveland. And also, on top of everything else, Joe Flacco is a fan favorite in Cleveland. They love him there. So somebody's got to be a casualty, and that's where I go down to Pickett, Rico. I just look at it and I'm like, hell, I don't even, dude. Cleveland, man. I mean Cleveland. What else can you say?
I can't comprehend. I can't wrap my head around what they're doing. And you saw it. I don't know if you saw it, but like when these guys drafted Shadir, the room was just kind of like, all right, next pick. Not a big deal. Like, come on, man. Terrible from the start, but it is what it is. That's the NFL for you. I just figured. And he's got the most selling jersey. I hate that he picked number 12, by the way. I'm not a big fan. Speaking of jersey numbers, and I brought it up myself. I want your thoughts on this.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel about players asking for, Hall of Fame guys to give up their number or unretire the number so I can come in and wear that? Are you a fan of that? Do they have the right to do that? It doesn't hurt to ask, or you're like, you don't have the nerve, you don't have the right to ask for that. I touched on it, but I was curious of what your thoughts were.
I couldn't believe Coward had a whole rant on this because he stole it out of my brain. I literally thought that what he said was my exact thought. It was my first thought when I heard it.
I got to try to find it.
It's one of the most tone-deaf things you could possibly do. You're talking about Lawrence Taylor. You're talking about arguably the greatest defensive player of all time. Micah Parsons hasn't played a snap, and he's already asking to unretire the jersey of not only a legend of that team, but a legend of the league. And if we're talking about, oftentimes they reference the Hall of Fame having a second tier to it, where the Hall of Fame of the Hall of Fame, you know what I mean, Rico? Like where there's Hall of Fame guys, and there's the Hall of Fame of the Hall of Fame. That's where Lawrence Taylor's at. You don't come in as a rookie and ask, and then double down and say, hey, that's only going to make me work harder. What? And this is coming from somebody I love. Like we're talking about, I'm a huge Penn State fan, and I think Abdul Carter's great. I don't understand why you would want the first impression from your fan base after being drafted 3rd overall to be that of, hey, I'm going to ask the greatest player that's probably ever played for this franchise if I can wear his jersey number. Make that make sense to me. I think it lacks self-awareness to me, Rico. I don't see how you could think about that and then not think to yourself, hey, this probably isn't the smartest thing to do right off of being drafted here.
It makes no sense. And I got to play this clip. I'm not going to play all of it. I'm just going to play a little bit of Colin Cowherd actually going off on Abdul Carter.
So Abdul Carter, he was advised to get surgery for an injury. He's like, nah, there was some stuff that people didn't love about it. But I'm like, hey, he's coming to the league. But he apparently asked to wear Lawrence Taylor's jersey number 56. That is so ridiculous. That is like going to the Yankees and saying, can I wear number 2? That's going to the Lakers. Can I wear number 32? Yeah, this guy named Magic. Lawrence Taylor, Bill Belichick won't say this. He always throws Brady in. But Belichick is a defensive coach. Privately, I believe that he thinks Lawrence Taylor, not Brady's the best player he's ever had. Because Belichick doesn't get any credit for Tom Brady. Josh McDaniel gets it. Brady gets it. Dante Scarnecchia gets it. Lawrence Taylor, that's Bill's side of the ball. Lawrence Taylor, I don't even think it's arguable. There's only 2 players that I think you could even argue are the greatest defensive player ever. Lawrence Taylor is the greatest, and Reggie White's second. But Lawrence Taylor's ability to just blow up every play from the outside.
And I'll stop right there. That is absolutely wild. It's not even just the fact that he asked and that's another thing. And he's alive.
And I'm so glad he said no. I would have done the same thing.
100%.
Can we just think about it from the Bills' perspective real quick? Let's go back to when Josh Allen was drafted and be honest with yourself. And if you were one of the people that nailed it from the beginning, hey, I give you all the credit in the world. My buddy Matt Kelly nailed it right from the beginning. He loved it. There was a lot of people out there, man, could have had Rosen, right? So let's just factor in how everybody thought about Josh Allen. Everybody thought he was going to be this massive project, okay? Which, he was a project in the beginning until all of a sudden that project wound up being an A+, right? Let's just think about Allen from the day he was drafted, okay? I want you to think about this. With all of the speculation around Allen, knowing he was going to be a project, knowing it was going to take some work to get to the ceiling, if it even pans out, right? Played at Wyoming. We're not talking about a Power 5 school here. What's this guy going to be? I want you to imagine the first thing Allen does after being drafted was calling up Jim Kelly and asking if he could wear number 12 walking out onto the field for his first snap as a rookie. I want you to think about that and then think about how delusional that seems. That is exactly what this situation is. Everybody would have looked at that because you got to think about it like this. How many quarterbacks after Jim Kelly did the Bills draft that wound up panning into absolutely nothing? Oh, that's right. Every single one of them.
Exactly right.
So think about it like that. The history the Bills have had post Jim Kelly. Now, all of a sudden, this guy walks in and thinks he has a right to wear number 12. The only quarterback that's ever been anything for this team, much less a Hall of Famer. I mean, it doesn't even compute to me. Yet then again, no, this is what this situation is. And I just think it's wild. I don't know why you would want your name attached to the greatest defensive player, not only in that organization, but potentially in NFL history. Why would you even want it to begin with, Rico? I saw somebody mention it earlier, and I feel the exact same way. Why wouldn't you want your own number retired? I don't get it.
1,000. Listen, I'm not going to argue it. And Walter said it. He's like, this is like one of the first times that all of the internet is like, go F yourself. And it's not even just you're asking a Giants great. You're asking an all-time great to move off of the number. Well, you got to be tripping, man. And you better be good. If you're doing all
you
of this
have to
before
be.
you take a snap, you better be good. Because I'll tell you right now, man, we've had guys. Where did Aaron Maben play? Was it Penn State?
Yes, Aaron Maben was Penn State.
Aaron Maben was an absolute bum, right? And I even said it. It's like Aaron Maben coming in and say, yo, like, Bruce Smith's number
78. Yeah, let me hear it.
Can you hook me up with that? Boy, you better go kick rock somewhere. It's not happening. I thought that was super comical to have these guys just do that. Dude, this is your opportunity to get a new number. And it sucks because you play with a number your whole collegiate career. And it's just that, and you try to get the number. No, you don't get that.
No, he wore 11 at Penn State. He didn't even wear 56 at Penn State.
Well, here's the thing. He then asked Phil Simms for his number. I don't know if you know that. He asked Phil Simms for his number. It's Chris Simms and the family was like, no, Dad. He was about to give it up. He was like, I don't mind if he does. And like, no, he's got to earn his own. He's got to earn his own. So
there should be a
league-wide
rule, by the way. There should be a league-wide rule. If your number is retired, you cannot even attempt to unretire it for at least X amount of years. I feel like that should be a rule.
Oh, great. And if you're going to retire someone's number, they better be an all-time great, or they meant something to your organization. And this is never going to be untouched. It's never going to be touched. I think there was one, number 32 is open. I don't know. I don't think they retired.
No, Thurman's number's
Simpson's
retired.
Jersey.
Oh, I'm thinking of 34. No,
yeah,
OJ's in the Wall of
Simpson's
Fame.
jersey.
It's not retired.
And I'll tell you right now, I'm looking at, I think it was like Cole Simpson. I think Cole Simpson was rocking number 32 on the Bills. Was it Cole Simpson?
Oh, no, it is retired. No, it's retired by USC, but not the Bills. That's what it is.
Right. I know it's open because there was a guy on the team. It was a safety that was wearing number 32. And I was like, yeah, I don't like that. Like, could you imagine watching? Okay, so let's just say Taylor did say yes. Yeah, go ahead and rock my number. Bro, that would be the weirdest thing to watch a number 56 on the Giants. And on top of that, he's buns. Nah, you're not gonna want to do that. Yo, leave my shit alone, man. Leave my shit alone.
And Walt's making a good point here that I agree with. This is the other thing. Like, why would you want to draw that type of attention to yourself after just being drafted? The expectations are already sky high. Now you're texting the greatest defensive player of that organization's history to wear their number, and now you already are making a bad impression. There were so many reasons going into that decision that made no sense, and yet he still went about it. I know I saw someone earlier here saying he's paying homage. There's other ways to do it. I just don't get it.
It had more to do with himself than him paying homage. There's no way. He tried it. He tried that.
And then, like you said earlier, what if Abdul Carr? What if he just has an okay career?
Yeah,
I don't know.
No, I don't like it either. I'm not a big fan. But yeah, I had to touch base with you on that and see what your thoughts were in that regards, because I'm like, I couldn't stand it. I'm not a fan of it, and we'll see what it is. But
do you think somebody in the camp there would step in and be like, "Hey, man, this might not be the best idea."
The agent,
somebody,
the agent doing that, yo. Fam, I'm gonna ask.
Sometimes things will happen, and I don't understand how they end up getting to the point at which they end up occurring. How does it not get bounced around multiple guys before getting to the point where you do something like that? I don't know.
I'll never see it. I'll never understand it. It's one of those things. I'm just going to the super chats to see if I miss any super chats. I don't know if did you look at all the super chats? I'm not sure if you did or not.
Did you get Led Robster, who's saying, don't let any of this distract you from the fact that Derek Carr retired before Aaron Rodgers. Though to be fair, Rodgers is very sanguine. Rico.
Sanguine. Hey, yo.
Yeah, Mitch.
I like it.
Earlier, by the way,
yeah,
we were talking about like the all-time middle tier quarterbacks. Truth to Heart said Phillip Rivers and Matt Ryan. So Matt Ryan won an MVP, should have won a Super Bowl. And then Phillip Rivers, man, I think Phillip Rivers was better than mid. I think that he just had an unfortunate, they had one of the greatest offenses in NFL history that didn't even make the playoffs because of how bad their defense and their special teams was. I think Phillip Rivers was better than given credit for. And I don't think of him as mid. I don't think of him as like an all-time great. But when I think of mid, I think of a guy that was a starter for a long time and was just never great, but never awful. I think Phillip Rivers was he was better than he was, not. It's
too bad because he was like, and I've said this before, and I'm like, I hope the Bills win one and not have Josh be one of those, like, one of the best quarterbacks that ever won. I mean, Josh is probably in my opinion, he surpassed Phillip Rivers in terms of his legacy and what he's going to do. And he's going to continue to do more. But like, I don't want Josh to become another Marino, like a Marino. Gotta win one. You gotta win one. He's got the MVP. That's nice. I like to see the graphics now. There's graphics showing. He hasn't ever got MVP.
How about only four active players with MVPs now? That's it.
Isn't that crazy?
It's crazy.
Crazy. I know. Listen, I'll take it, man. I love the fact that we got a guy that's going to take us over the hump, and we just got to get it there. Are you going to this year? Are you going to try to make your way over to St. John Fisher?
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I like to get there every year. Living down here now makes it a little tougher, but I'd like to get up there for sure. It's always a blast. I love going.
8-hour drive, is it?
It's 5. It's 5 hours. I love going though. I love going to camp. It's so much fun.
That's not a bad drive for you. That's not bad at all.
I do it all the time. It's not that bad. Hey, we never got a chance to talk about this, by the way. Richie's bringing it up. He goes, did you see that silver jersey mock-up? Would be better if a little red and blue was thrown into it with the Zubas look. Otherwise, looks like Raiders, jersey. But like Raiders-like concept. Well, you know the Bills are getting a new uniform this year, right?
No, I did not know that.
Come on.
A new uniform?
You know, I had a feeling, see, this has not been promoted very well. This has not been like, the NFL really hasn't like they really haven't thrown this in our face yet. So
I knew there was something to the nature of like they're going to allow them to wear an alternate jersey.
No, so this is in the same vein as the color rush. It's called rivalries. 2 divisions every year are getting new uniforms that they'll wear once when they're debuted against a rival within their division. So the Bills will wear this year either against the Jets, Patriots, or the Dolphins, and it will be a brand new uniform. The AFC East is getting them, and the NFC West is getting them. The Bills are getting an entire new uniform this year, Rico.
Really? Oh, I did not know that.
Yes. So with that in mind, so here we talked about it on the last show. And once again, for those who don't know, this is what's happening. Like I said, 2 divisions every year for the next 4 years are getting these uniforms. They're going to wear them once this year. Then after that, they can wear them for 3 years until they decide whether or not they're going to keep them or not. But nobody knows what these uniforms are going to be. From what we've been told, there's supposed to be a collaboration between, or there's supposed to be a connection between either the city or the history of the organization. So it could be a throwback, Rico, or it could be a completely new design that we've never seen before. And what Richie was mentioning is that Buffalo is the nickel city, that the uniform could be this silver uniform, that it would be unlike anything we've ever seen Buffalo wear.
Let me explain to me this nickel city. I never understood what's the significance with nickel city. Can you give me that? I don't know.
Are you familiar? Buffalo being a nickel, the nickel city?
Yes.
I don't even, from what I'm looking up here, the American bison on the back of the Indian head nickel is what they're saying Buffalo is known as the nickel city for.
Interesting. I had no idea that there was any of that nonsense. Okay.
The reason that's even being brought up though is because, like I just mentioned, in the description of what these uniforms are supposed to be, it alludes to an idea that the uniform could be, you know how the NBA has the City Connect jerseys?
Yeah.
People are thinking it might be like that.
Something like that. Okay.
They will be announced before the start of the season, John. We don't know when, but it will be before the season kicks off. That's all we know right now. But the NFL has not promoted this at all up until this point, really.
So I assume this is what you're looking for.
You already know that answer. You already know that answer. That's exactly what I want. They have the formula right in front of them. They do not need to go to the drawing board and craft up some new concoction. They already have it right in front of them. Do what everybody wants, right? Because if you go and make a whole new uniform, Rico, you are really rolling the dice. People are either going to absolutely love it or they are going to hate it. You might not love throwing the throwback on there, but nobody's going to despise it. They could make a new uniform and it could just be horrid and it could go terribly wrong.
I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking. I want to see what they do. It'd be cool if it was just like a all black. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm in on the black. Yeah.
Listen, I mean, take a look at this. If Bills come out with something like this, why not?
With a black uniform with a red accents, I'd be in on it.
Listen, you see Josh come out with a black, rivalry. That's promise. That'd be fire. That'd be fire.
I would love it, dude. I would love it.
Well, I'm not sure if you wanted to touch on anything because I kind of got what for tonight what I want to touch on unless you had something for me.
Nope, you nailed it, brother. You'll be with me Wednesday, of course, right? We'll dive into it deep when the schedule is released. By the way,
Yeah,
do not miss that 7:30 Wednesday night, right where you're at right now, BF YouTube channel. The 2025 NFL schedule comes out Wednesday evening, and we're going to dive into it at length. We're going to dive into the whole schedule, and then Rico and I are going to give our predictions.
Yeah. It's going to be a fun one. It's going to be a fun one.
Record, division winner, playoff seeding, everything. You're not going to want to miss it. Wednesday, 7:30, and I can't wait because Rico, every year when the schedule comes out, that's when it starts to feel real, baby.
And you know how we get excited for when all the schedule breakdowns and who they're going to play and what graphics. I hated last year's. I couldn't stand it. So I'm hoping that they come with something that gives me something to laugh about, man, or maybe give me something like, oh, that's dope. That's pretty cool. But
yeah, they always have these schedule release videos. We're hoping for something good. You and I both did not love last year's.
I didn't. You warmed up to it because you understood the concept of it, and I'm
no,
not a Parks
Jenna
and Recreation guy.
She got it right. Jenna was a Parks and Recreation.
Yeah, she's a Parks. She's like, oh, how do you not get that? I was like, it's over my head. I don't get it. Now, if they gave me a Curbs Your Enthusiasm,
Seinfeld one, right? Something like that.
Office, I'm in.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Modern Family, I'm in. We'll see how they do it.
I'm in on that. But anyway, can't wait. Wednesday night, make sure to be there. We'll be covering it all. So, other than that,
by the way, shout out to Kevin. Kevin says, is it possible to draft in Nova Scotia? You absolutely can draft in Nova Scotia. Just make sure that you got to go up Maine into New Brunswick to Halifax, baby, and then you're good to go. See how I was off screen. You see how I have to go up here? I'm way up north and east. So
I love it.
You got to go through Maine, New Hampshire, make your way up, up the coast, and you're good to go, buddy. Good to go.
All right. Well, hey, that's 2.5 hours in the books on a Saturday night. We appreciate all of you. 1,300 plus of you. I know we never really do Saturday. So this is like maybe the first Saturday we've done. But we'll be back with you
Mother's
Wednesday.
Day to everybody next week. Hey, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. For tomorrow, 100%. Enjoy your day. And we're going to have fun. Are you going to go see Mom Dukes, or are you going to hang out?
I saw Mama last week. We're doing brunch here down with my mother-in-law and the whole family here. But I'll be sure to call Mom tomorrow, as I'm sure all you will. Good call, by the way. Mother's Day tomorrow. Enjoy that. Spend some time with Mom. Call everybody up. Check in. And then Wednesday night, once again, we'll be with you right here. BF YouTube channel. Schedule release. Can't wait. Rico, anything else?
No. Are you going to be cooking something for mom-in-law? You're just gonna go out for dinner. I think you should cook get up in the morning, make breakfast for mom-in-law.
Yeah, listen. If I woke up and did that, it would be insulting everybody as opposed to doing something nice, because I don't think anybody would like it. All right. With that said, everybody, Saturday night in the books, 2.5. Much love to all of you. We'll talk to you Wednesday. Until then, enjoy your Mother's Day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Yes, sir.
Rico, peace, and as always,
go Bills.